Mission Control. This is Mission Control. Can you hear us? Are you persevering? On another wet and windy Tuesday afternoon, where we are. What's it like where you are? You can tell us all that in a moment. Coming at you from out of the vortex once more and standing proud, sitting proud. Some of us, whatever time zone or time stream that it is you're in. It's time for Type 40 Live this week with me, Dan Hadley, Birmingham's King of the Geeks. How are we all? Yes, we're coming through the end of the tiers. Now we're looking at stages, aren't we? But apart from that, it's all good. It's all good. How are you lot? Yeah, enjoy your nice break. Enjoy half term. We've sort of done it the wrong way around, really. We've done the bit that people do before they break up, after. So if you thought the last stream was silly, this one's going to be even sillier. Let's put this on before I forget. Bing, there we are. Pop up, go on, pop up. There it is. There it is. Beep, 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 beep. Says we are live. Yes, live streaming to YouTube, the world's largest streaming platform, over to Facebook, to the Type 40 Facebook group and the Facebook page there. So we're saying hello, everybody. Hello, people out there watching. Who's joining us so far? We've got some comments here. Digby Strawbridge. Strawbridge? Yes, Strawbridge. Hello, Digby. Okay. Lots of names that I recognise there. Disaster area, afternoon. Oh, it's a very mild message for such an alarming profile picture. Good to see you. Vanessa Law, early for Vanessa there. And who else? Sadako. Lots of familiar names. We've got some familiar faces too that are going to pop up in a moment from under the console. There's how many of us? There's 6. I've got 6 people. Yeah, that's 5 sides. Whatever. We'll work it out. We'll work it out somehow. Okay. What's first? Yes, I am here talking to you from the Spacebook, which is it's the best channel that you've never heard of. And this is Type 40 Live. This is the live portion of the whole Type 40 podcast that we put together. We run that through the Fandom Podcast Network. New episodes drop for that most weeks, but this is us sort of out of school and a bit more casual and a bit more chatting with you guys watching out there in the comment sections, both on Facebook and on YouTube, and with one another in real time for your pleasure. And you can get involved. Let us know what you think of it all in the chat. Set us right if we get a few things wrong. It's bound to happen. And yeah, the theme of this show is that you can ask us anything. Absolutely anything, as long as it's vaguely Doctor Who related, because that's what we're talking about, the world's longest running and arguably the best loved of all the science fiction TV shows and the big franchises, the big 3, or is it the big 4? I'm still not certain. That's a good question. You can ask us that if you like. The questions are already, and so are they. But yeah, I mentioned the old perseverance earlier on. Perseverance, because this has blown me away. This is NASA, isn't it, that have done this? We are out there. This is the Mars 2020 Mars rover mission, NASA's exploration program, and includes this probe, this small probe, and a robotic helicopter, which apparently is called Ingenuity. And so we're getting our first pictures back, aren't we, from the surface of Mars. We saw a few of it sort of landing the other day. Now we're getting all these fabulous pictures. So I thought I'd throw this up for you to see. Where is it? Here it is. Yes, so this is the first one. Wow. So yeah, that's the actual surface there of Mars. I mean, okay. There's no McDonald's or anything like that. It's probably pretty much what you'd expect, but it's pretty spectacular, isn't it? And with more clarity than I think we've ever seen before. I'm pretty interested in the whole real life spacey stuff, but I wonder if you are, and I wonder if he is. Barnaby Jago, what do you make of this?
Oh, it's fascinating. It's so amazing. I love the whole sort of like spacey stuff and NASA missions and all these sort of things. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful picture. And it's obviously the context of it. I mean, it's not red. It's not the red planet. Sort of like browny, sort of mud, sort of rather Somish. But it's just but it's so exciting and just like really, because we should be out there, exploring and brave new worlds and stuff like that. And I love all this space stuff. It's brilliant.
It is extraordinary, isn't it? Extraordinary when you think about how far away this is and how clear this picture is. It's almost as if there are others as well. There are others like panoramic ones, and it's almost as if you could sort of reach out and touch it. And I understand it departed like 15 years ago or something. This mission's been ongoing for well over a decade, and the technology's been out there reaching its destination. But it just blows me away. Have you always been interested in the real life behind it as well? Real space travel Barnaby's that always gone side by side with your sci-fi love?
Yes, I love the kind of like that sort of sci-fi which is actual proper, science fiction, has elements of science in it, but also turns it on its head a bit and just makes you think more. I mean, that's what classic Star Trek used to be about. The Next Generations and things. They would have. It was kind of like when I was watching it as a kid, it was sort of like teach me kind of like science as well, which I really loved, and would sort of like make me feel kind of clever for sort of getting it as they would describe it. When nowadays modern Star Trek more seems to be a bit more, it just wants to be Marvel. It's more sort of like dude bros in space. My God, a planet just went supernova. I'm one of those very annoying people. I think it was during the first Star Trek movie when Romulus's sun blows up, and and Spock is on a planet, and he looks up or something, and he actually sees it happen. He sees the sun explode, or Romulus explode, just when on another planet. I'm actually going, he wouldn't see it exactly as it blew up because the it takes a while for light to get to other planets. So wrong there. And one of those very annoying geeky people who get that.
That's a very, very, very nitpicky. JT, what do you think of this? A Doctor Who fan who's a nitpicker. Have you ever heard anything like it?
Nothing at all. I haven't heard of it. But what I can say about that picture is if you've seen one quarry, you've seen them all.
I think that's
isn't that Wales?
Comment. Yeah. When you've watched a lot of Doctor, there's somebody standing off to the left with a flask or one of those great big sort of puffer jackets there to throw around an actor. Actually, if anybody's done that in his time, it's probably this bloke. Let's bring on Ian David Diaz. I bet he's thrown a few puffer jackets around actors and some of those silvery blankets, hasn't he? What do you think, Ian?
I have. You know what? This is probably not Mars. Is it Mars? It is Mars, right?
We're told it's Mars. Yes.
Don't start this conversation going. They haven't actually got there.
Conspiracies already.
I'll tell you something, Barnaby, as well.
That's what it is.
What you just said there, Barnaby, actually frightened me a little bit there because you said the first Star Trek movie. I think you'll find it was the 11th Star Trek movie, love.
The nitpickers.
Bad of me.
Nitpicking even amongst the panel, everybody. This is what you
know. It's just JT.
I mean, goodness me, how young is that boy?
JT's having a go. He always has a go. Every week he has a go. We wouldn't love him if he doesn't have a go. Come on.
You're quite right. I mean, when you've watched enough vintage science fiction, I mean, somebody in the chat there is mentioning Blake 7. You think it is very, very Quarry-esque, isn't it? So here I've got another picture just to compare, just to prove to everybody that Doctor Who has, of course, been there already. There's Mars. I think I prefer Doctor Who Mars. What do you think, starry-eyed girl? What do you think? You're the expert.
Thank you. Well, I'm disappointed that there's no ice warriors or monsters of any kind. I wanted monsters or aliens. Just got drowned.
Martians.
Well, we've got. I mean, as Barnaby said, you described it as som-like the colour there.
It's not muddier than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. I'm going to have to come to Barnaby's defence, being the other youngish person on the panel. I know what he meant. He meant the first Abrams Trek movie, which of course is completely different. Trek. And I'm with you.
The reason why it looks muddy is because they didn't push the lights in further. To make it brighter. That's why it's muddy. You see, they
ran out of budget.
They ran out of money. That's probably what it is.
All the tricks of the trade coming to you live on Type 40 Live. Yeah, I think they could just do with turning the contrast up because obviously Doctor Who Mars there on the right from 2009's The Waters of Mars, no less. And it's more. Would you call it the red planet? It's more the sort of orangey planet, isn't it? It's very, very orangey. What's orange and sings opera?
There we go. Who knows?
Leslie Carrot. If you'd like to go to Mars, if you'd like to book up for the next trip, let us know in the chat what you think about that. If you think this is a viable place, because this is the thing, apparently they're looking for viable places to set up human colonies, aren't they, in the far future. Now, I think it's a long way to go for a bit of peace and quiet. I mean, particularly when we're in the middle of lockdown here in Great Britain. But who knows? There might be people out there who would jump at the chance. Absolutely jump at the chance. Would you jump at the chance, Simon? Bit of peace and quiet?
Well, yeah, I'd certainly jump at the chance of a bit of peace and quiet. But I remember hearing about, obviously, this whole Mars thing has been in the news a lot this week. And I remember hearing the news reports saying, we're looking now, it's not just Mars, we're looking that we're going to have to colonize other planets. And I'm thinking, no, don't let humanity colonize other planets. We've messed up one planet.
Absolutely.
Please don't go and mess up Mars. Don't go and mess up other planets. So as much as I'm fascinated by space exploration, I'm thinking, please leave the other planets alone. Stanley Arthur C. Clarke was the one who, in 2010, the novelization said, this one place is yours and leave everything else alone. And I think he gave humanity Europa or Io, as I recall.
But who are they to tell us what to do?
And he did kind of, and he did sort of say, you have this, but don't mess with anything else. And that's me.
Why?
Let's just stick with Earth.
Why don't we just send all the morons?
Why don't we just go, look, we can go anywhere we want. Get lost.
Well, thinking.
Thinking's here watching in the chat here on YouTube, and he says, I want to know what it tastes like. Have they changed the ingredients once again?
Yeah, I think they've taken out half of the sugar. I think that's what's happened.
Could be. They've certainly got smaller.
That's why it looks a bit muddy.
The 100-calorie chocolate bars are on the way.
And don't start me on Cadbury's cream eggs. How big?
Dear. Yeah, they're tiny.
They are very, very, very tiny, aren't they? Yeah, somebody in the chat is asking a question. We might as well get to this now. Yes, because we don't know if there's going to be life on Mars yet, do we? We have no idea. We understand there might be a few drops of water. I think they found water and a little bit of vegetation last time.
No, we don't drink the water. We've been through it.
We'd like, yeah, because we'd like to think too that we aren't going to be faced with sites like the 12th Doctor faces here, that the Ice Warriors aren't going to sort of stumble out of the dark, cavernous underground and basically tell us to bugger off. We hope that's not going to happen. We hope they're going to be pretty friendly. But what do you think? If there is life on Mars, do you think it's long gone, everybody?
Is there life in Peckham? That's what I want to know.
Is there life in Peckham?
I still remember
that's an old song.
This is many years ago now, many decades ago, and I remember a news report that I can't remember ultimately whether it was kind of debunked or what they said about it, but supposedly a probe over the top of Mars had looked down and seen a figure standing in what looked like ice cream in a crater full of ice cream. Does anybody else remember that? It was
ice cream.
Which I'm probably showing my age.
Was it Rocky Road?
Probably. I still think it was probably Walls just trying to drum up a bit of business for the Ice Cream Mars bar.
Was it published in April by any chance, Simon?
Well, it could well be. Maybe I'm just gullible. I don't know.
Just like me. Who knows? I mean, life on Mars might not look remotely like the Ice Warriors had it, or the Sycorax, or anybody else in the Doctor Who universe that's hung out there. But it could look maybe a little bit like this. What do you think of that?
Oh wow, that's brilliant!
This
is some. I think, Simon, we can call this fan art. I think it classes fan art.
I'm not sure that I can honestly call it fan art.
Because people are asking in the chat. Because yes, our cliffhanger ending at the end of the last last episode of Type 40 Live. You could call it our mid-season cliffhanger. That works, doesn't it? Yes, because Simon, you were toying with the idea of, as a few people have noticed, of dyeing your hair, weren't you? And we can't help but notice that you are still au natural at the moment.
Yeah, it's not blue. I have tried. I hasten to add, I have tried it. I've gone for it. I've got the blue dye. It didn't work. The fact is, it didn't work. I've done a sort of strand test, and it just came out sort of muddy grey, bluey kind of. It didn't work. So I think what I'm going to have to do is literally lighten my hair before I can put the blue on. So it's just one of those things that it sounded like such a good idea at the time. I thought it was going to be so simple, and it's become an absolute mammoth thing.
What a palaver.
Exactly. That's what it is, JT. Wow. It's a palaver, and so I'm still intending to go blue. Don't worry, but it's work in progress. Let's just say it's a work in progress. Stay tuned, as JNT would say.
Get a wig. Get a wig.
It is a wig. What do you mean it is a wig?
Charlotte Shields is in the chat. I loved how when it came to reactions to the mission, you could tell Who fans a mile off. I think you probably could, judging by our reactions too. Good to see you there, Charlotte. Sadaku says that, by the way, the word gullible is not in the C dictionary.
Really? It's not in the dictionary?
I think it is.
Acting.
Doctor Who chat Hello, Neil, over there in Doctor Who chat. Hello, Dan, and the Space Bookers, and everybody else here on the panel.
Hi, Space Bookers. Hi, Doctor Who chat.
Cookies.
I love this comment, Dan, that you flashed up a moment ago about they should make a colony ship just like in Hitchhiker's Guide, fit it with lawyers and estate agents and politicians. I'd add in the politicians there.
And telephone sanitizers.
People I'd add in there. Colonized Jupiter. Absolutely, let's do that.
I couldn't agree more. Who else?
Did they not get a picture of Matt Damon when they had the picture of Mars? Wasn't he around? Yeah, you probably didn't get that, JT. You got it.
I love that film.
That is a great film.
Megan Eurobite's got the answer to your problem here. Just go with the classic. The classic Blue Ridge, Simon.
Yeah. You should, Simon. You should.
Yes.
You fall out with people, you know.
And talking about hair, uncontrollable or controllable hair. I've got a picture here. It's not actually supposed to be a picture of him, but I wanted to flash it up anyway because we have got a bit of Doctor Who news this week. Just the last day or so, Emily Cook from Doctor Who magazine has announced that the popular Doctor Who lockdown tweet-alongs are to come to a close. Here's Emily, of course. There she is with various doctors. And I just wanted to say thank you, Emily Cook, for everything you've done for the fandom over the last 12 months with these tweet-alongs. Most of us are very, very grateful. And we know the effort that's gone into these, securing all of the involvement of all the various talents and making all that bespoke new content for us. We really do appreciate it. And whatever's coming up next for Emily, I understand she's working with Big Finish. She's producing various things, which have probably led on to from all this content that she's put together. But I suppose that when something's been successful, half the trick, JT, is knowing when to quit, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
is that her sister up top left? Is that her sister?
I've no idea who that is, but I've noticed that Peter Capaldi there on the right. That's what got me thinking of that. That's the wild hair of Peter Capaldi from series
unkept. He's unkept.
Series 10. Yeah. So thank you again, Emily. I enjoyed the few that I took part in anyway over towards the summer, and I know they've carried on. And what I like about it as well is that they've evolved. So they deliberately tapped into this creative side to the Doctor Who fandom that we all enjoy so much. That most of us have been involved in some respect or another, haven't we?
So is she moving away from the magazine, or is she still doing that as well?
Not that I know of. I think it's just a case of other opportunities for her have come along, and like I say, it's free time or whatever else, isn't it? And I think they may be running out of episodes too, or at least viable episodes, depending on who you talk to. But we might have a conversation about that another time. But I think it's a great achievement. And last year, all that the Doctor Who community managed to do, coming together for a few months at least, it was something that I know made a lot of us really quite proud. Vanessa says, whenever I see the Ice Warriors, my first thought is that the costume was too big in the proms for the actor. They do look big, don't they, Sarah? They do. Yeah. Talking about big monster costumes, you actually sent me this, didn't you, JT? I wanted to flash this up as well. This is really, really cute. This picture is from Paul Miles over on Facebook. So what exactly is this, JT? It's an action figure, a custom-made action figure, isn't it?
Really, Paul's made. I don't know Paul, so hello to Paul if you're watching. And I was so impressed by this because he loves the character options action figures. But as many fans have done now, they've started to produce their own figures to go in that range. And what he's produced here is a wonderful-looking mandrill, and I just thought it was beautiful.
It is. You know what? How much I love the mandrills, because I did wonder. I thought it was just I thought it might have been just a sculpture, and then I noticed when you go in, you can see the joints there, the elbow joints, and various things. I thought, wow,
it shows, doesn't it? I mean, these people. Again, creativity, and these people are so clever. These are fans just taking the action figures and building their own versions of them. Absolutely fantastic stuff.
And we have a couple of people in the chat today over on YouTube. The man from the Dalek factory. Where is he? Where's Stephen? He's a mega Eurobite there. The things that he can do with Daleks is incredible. And this is in. That just sounds wrong, doesn't it?
Sounds wrong.
Sorry, Stephen.
That's another show altogether.
It's the middle of the afternoon. Everybody, control yourselves. We haven't even got to the question. We haven't got to the questions yet. Oh dear, oh dear.
Questions.
Mandrills. Do you think? Oh. Oh, we've got another question there in the chat. That's probably something for something else. But yeah, the creativity involved in this kind of thing. I mean, people want to create all the time, don't they? And whether it be something that's on a screen where they can make film, or something to put in your ears like we do with podcasts and various other things, or whether it's arts and crafts. I know that most franchises sort of most franchises spark this, I think, with people, whether it's Harry Potter, Star Wars, or whatever, spark the creativity. But there's something about Doctor Who fans, Simon, isn't there?
Well, it's funny, isn't it? That I think I've made this point before, that it's strange that much as something like, I don't know, EastEnders is loved, or Strictly Come Dancing, or whatever it is, they're much loved, but they don't somehow entice any involvement on the part of the viewer. It's a very passive thing. You sit and you watch it. And for some reason, why is it that sort of kind of genre stuff, not just Doctor Who, but Star Trek, Star Wars, whatever it is, somehow elicits that sort of desire on the part of some of the viewers to actually get more actively involved? What is it that's different with Doctor Who, etc., as opposed to EastEnders?
Well, I would say that Doctor Who and genre stuff captures imagination, whereas EastEnders and Strictly and all that sort of stuff don't. With imagination, if you remember, it's like when you're a kid and you're seeing a Dalek, you wanted a Dalek, so you built one out of Typhoo boxes and cornflakes boxes. You're same with K9 when K9 came along. It's like the action figures here, they're all doing things because character haven't made them yet. So once upon a time, Doctor Who was a great, and other series like it and other films like it, especially in sci-fi, was a great way for you to just be inspired.
JT, do you think that the kitchen sink quality to Doctor Who and Blake Seven and other stuff, but particularly Doctor Who, the fact that sometimes you could tell the monsters were made from bubble wrap, do you think that might have inspired people as well to look around to non-ironically to look around their own kitchen or whatever and say, "Mum, can I have that cardboard tube?" and shove that into there? Barnaby's laughing. You think he might have done it already?
Build your own Wirren, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Have the bubble wrap and go like, I've got like the Wirren hand.
Yeah, I did that when I was a kid. I'm telling you now.
Well, yeah, I absolutely do. I absolutely do think that, and that the whole bubble wrap incident, of course, when that came along in the Ark in Space, I'd never seen bubble wrap in my life because it wasn't as mass produced as it was, and it was hugely expensive then. But even today, when I get something coming along and it's wrapped in bubble wrap, I immediately think Wirren. I'll paint that green. But I do think, I used to make, I don't know about you guys, but I used to try and make spaceships out of old Airfix pieces, washing up bottles, and try and live up to what Matt Irvin was showing me on Swap Shop and Saturday Superstore.
Yeah, I remember my very first Dalek was made out of an upside down paper cup with sort of just blobs painted on the side. I'm just going to go back as well, Dan, to that comment that somebody's just popped up. Doctor Who chat has just popped up saying, reminds me of the mandrel that used to be in the window of Nostalgia and Comics in Birmingham. Nostalgia and Comics in Birmingham. I've got very happy memories of Saturdays spent in
even what you call it, the Forbidden Planet had a Dalek in there. I think it was because in those days there were two. There was a blue shop and a red shop, and I think the red one had a Dalek. It was there only for a time though. But I remember going in there, looking at it and thinking to myself, I wish I had that. I really do wish I had that.
I remember the one weekend I actually borrowed for an event that I was doing back in the 80s. I borrowed the K9 from Nostalgia and Comics in Birmingham. I borrowed their K9 and put it in my hallway. And I can still remember the one day that the doorbell went and it was the postman. And I opened the door to the postman and the postman's like, "Is that? Is that?" He literally couldn't speak. He was like, I'm like, "Yes, it is. Yes, it is."
Brilliant.
You guys are not playing tricks on you. We have a question here, which sort of leads into the next thing I wanted to talk about, because out there in Doctor Who land, they are filming, but they're not. I understand they were filming on Barry Island quite recently, which is the location of standout Doctor Who classic Delta and the Bannermen, of course, back in '87. They've been back to Barry Island to film again in the last few weeks, but there's not a great deal to see. We've got a comment that's bang up to date here. This is from Garbage. That's Facebook. If there is a 60th special episode, anniversary special, I suppose, for 2023, do you think the script should really have been started by now? And by who? New showrunner or a one-off Moffat / Russell T Davies? There's a couple of questions there. I mean, my attitude is that here we are in early 2021. We're talking still well over another 2.5 years away. That's a long
That's
time
not how they work
in the future.
That's
It
not how
doesn't
they
sound
work.
feasible to me. It doesn't sound feasible to me, Ian, even without being in a pandemic. So what do you think?
Look, that's not how it works. The people will write it when they get paid. That's how it works. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, if you know, if I was the showrunner right now, which I don't want to be, I would start writing right now, because I'm a huge fan of Doctor Who. But I can't see Chibnall writing something for that, or anyone, in fact, unless they get paid, because it's all about money at the end of the day, isn't it, for them? So.
But I suppose the question is, and I obviously the answer to this is going to be no, but the question would be: has the BBC thought about all this so far, and have they already? Are they already thinking? Yeah. And of course they're not.
Yeah, exactly.
Far-sighted.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
They've still got their heads in the ground.
They still hate Doctor Who. BBC still hates.
And
Doctor
also,
Who.
also everybody, let's be a bit more charitable, because these 8 episodes, it would appear that they are having to perform minor miracles just to get these 8 episodes finished. And the talk that I am hearing is that plan could change, and that 6 episodes is actually a more feasible figure, that we may not even see those 8.
Wow.
So that's just for the end of this year. So I think in the short term future. Yeah,
you're not too worried. Nor am I. I'm not worried at all.
In the short term,
devil's advocate here, but what if there isn't a 60th?
No, I think that's feasible as well.
But if there isn't, then we'll celebrate. We'll celebrate, you know? Who needs the BBC? Who needs them?
We're kind of taking it for granted that there's going to be one.
There isn't. There probably isn't.
There isn't going to, and if it is, it's not going to be a big, massive thing like the.
That's right. It's going to be Jodie front and center. That's what it's going to be, and I don't want to be part of that rubbish. Not at all.
Like, even in, you know, I mean, apart from like the 5 Doctors, I mean, there wasn't one in the. Oh, there was one in the 90s. There were Dimensions in Time, weren't there? But
no, that was nothing to do with it. Correct that. No,
doesn't exist. Doesn't exist.
It doesn't count. It was supposed to be a
does
joke.
exist. That's the problem. It does.
Look at the reactions when somebody mentions Dimensions in Time to a bunch of Doctor Who fans are wild. You've got this sort of this complete from Barnaby next to me, total denial the thing even exists.
Yeah, exactly.
It was so bad. It's like when Tom sort of first come. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
What's it saying? You got JT going, "Oh no, not again."
Yeah, I mean, it just brings back. I mean, I was there the day Pertwee was down at what's the ship, Simon? What's the ship? I can't remember. Greenwich.
The
Cutty Sark, yeah. And I was down there, and the whole thing was supposed to be just a joke. You know, it's just a token. And I remember Gary Downey saying to me, "This will shake everybody up." And I didn't know what the hell he meant. I thought he meant something technical. But here we are all these years later, and now I get it, because it's being dragged out of history. Just let it go. Pile of poo.
Yeah,
I just remember seeing Tom at the beginning. Introducing him, like, Tom, what have they done to you? He just looks so tired and like, oh, Tom,
yeah, he does.
Leave him alone. Let him out to pasture.
The money.
Yeah, well, that's what
they didn't get money.
Actually, no, it wasn't. It was for charity, wasn't it? Not?
Yeah, they didn't get any money, and that was the whole thing about it. And everybody did everything like that for free, and it was never ever supposed to be seen again. And now you can dig it up on things like YouTube. It's such a shame, because it did raise a lot of money, didn't it, Si, for children in need?
I guess so. Did it raise a lot of money, or were people probably paying to get it off? Actually, Please don't have somebody coming into it for episode 2. Here's 50 quid to get it off.
Yes. We'll ring in if you stop.
You know what? Sorry, can I ask a question? So, if you don't think that is part of Doctor Who, what about when David Tennant teamed up with Peter Davison? Do you include that into? Is that canon? No,
that's a show. That is a show.
Well, I'm just asking the panel whether they think that's canon.
I think it's canon.
You think it's canon?
Because it's played. Because it's played.
Dimensions in Time is canon. Because
it's played straight.
Yeah,
it's not a spoof in any way. Time Crash. I think you could argue that Dimensions in Time is a spoof, but I think that's also debatable too.
I like to think the Curse of Fatal Death is in canon. Just for fun, because I genuinely love it.
The Jodie thing is not canon. That's what I like.
Pick and choose.
That's supposed to be played straight. I think the only person who knows less what's going on in Dimensions in Time than the viewers is Tom Baker. In that, the guy looks. It's like just go over there, just stand there, wear this, and say that. Is it? It's for a good cause. Okay, I'm in. Because he's a good guy, he said yes.
Mind you, though, that one connected to the story, didn't it? The Titanic story.
Time Crash
So,
did,
maybe it is part of canon. Who knows?
Well,
I don't
Russell
know.
wrote it in a deliberate way, didn't he? So it's there if you want it, and that was
exactly
the whole thing about Russell. It's there if you want it to be. So it's up to the individual. So you're not, you shouldn't be pressurized like certain elements of fandom do today to accept something. It's there if you want it. It ties into Last of the Time Lords. It ties into Voyage of the Damned. There you go.
Yeah.
Vanessa Law in the chat here says anything on TV is canon. Ooh, anything? I think when you talk about
not anything.
House Party
2017.
It depends. It depends on what you mean by on screen, really, because there's been, as you just mentioned there, JT, all the various spoofs and segments and things like Noel's House Party and
various, the Generation Game,
and various, and various parodies where we've had one-off doctors, sometimes for 10 minutes or 3 minutes, like the Lenny Henry Doctor, or just for a couple of minutes, like this guy, for example. Where are we? Because this week this has resurfaced. Somebody who's played the Doctor numerous times in such things. Yes, could it be that where is he? Yes, John Coleshaw is the Doctor. That's this week's possible Doctor. Oh, that's not gone down too well there with JT. Yes, so John Coleshaw this week. He was a contestant on Celebrity Mastermind a few days ago on BBC. Is it on BBC Two or BBC One? One of the channels, I don't know.
Is that still going?
Yeah, apparently so. And even John Humphries is still going, and he's literally going. He's just quit the job as host of Mastermind. I think he's been doing that around 20 years.
He hasn't quit, Dan.
He hasn't quit.
No, he's retiring. I heard he's retiring.
Is he being pushed?
He's been replaced by a
No, to give it to you, I'm going to put a bit of balance here. I actually heard it was his decision. He wanted to go. He wants to retire. Now, I would actually say that's more his polite way of saying, I need to get out of the BBC.
Do we know who's replacing him now?
I can't remember her name.
A woman. What a surprise!
It's not going to be a bloke. Yes, he was quoted as saying he is retiring. The man he's well over 80, isn't he? But yes, within 36 hours of it being announced that he wasn't going to be doing this job anymore, he has launched I won't say a scathing attack. The man is in his 80s, but he hasn't minced his words with the things that he said about the BBC. I haven't got them to hand, so I won't speculate about that. But if you
good for him, though, good for him. One of the last great journalists. I do admire him, and good for him for speaking out. And good luck on Classic FM, John.
Now, I haven't heard, I haven't seen or heard how well John Coleshaw did on Mastermind. The clip is out there, and the entire show is up on YouTube too. So anybody can watch it from all over the world. So go and check that out. We wish John all the best with that, because he's one of us, isn't he, Barnaby? He's a Doctor Who fan. And that's what matters. But this week, I think we can safely say that he has officially engaged a campaign to get himself the job, to get himself the actual
crap.
Get the actual Doctor Who job. John Coleshaw, he's been speaking to the Metro. Coleshaw on why he'd ace Doctor Who after putting hand up. I have to be careful how I read this. After putting hand up for during an unforgettable phone call with comedian John Coleshaw. I lose count of the amount of times the conversation is interrupted by famous people. First to put in are two Doctor Who's, Tom Baker and Don Pertwee. Because, of course, this man can do so many voices, most of them to an uncanny standard. Can't he, Sarah? So he's incredibly gifted. And he is a massive fan of the show. Having been a fan of the show since I was 4, I think I'd like to not just play the Doctor, but be the Doctor in real life.
It would be very interesting to see him as an actor rather than just the voices, because I don't think I've actually seen him be him.
Nor have I.
No, he hasn't done his own Doctor, but he has played. He did do a really good third Doctor impression in this YouTube video or something, which was just dead on. He was fantastic playing. And he also played the not the caretaker. What's it called? Tom Baker's role in the gallery. No, the curator. Yeah, he also played that, and he was really, really good. So I'd be fully up.
Does he know how to do Jodie yet?
That's easy. Just Jodie around. Just run around opening your mouth with your mouth gaping up, and that's.
I do love
you bitch.
I love the fact that he's so enthusiastic about it, and he's always positive about Doctor Who. And lately, over the last few years, obviously he's been doing lots of unboxing videos for those vinyl sets that they do. Have you seen those, Simon? Those big vinyl sets of the missing stories. They put the soundtrack to them on vinyl, put them in lovely artwork and in a
Horror
collector's.
Fan Rock's just come out, hasn't it? The artwork, the Horror of Fan Rock is absolutely stunning. I want it on my wall. It's worth buying the album just to put the cover on your wall. Fabulous.
Just the artwork there, yeah. And I haven't ever seen him straight act either. But I said this about Richard Ayoade, and I've mentioned him a few times. So potentially, by the same measure, I was wondering if John Coleshaw had been in something like, had he been in Holby, has he been in Casualty or Midsummer Murders or something that I just haven't seen? And is he actually capable of?
I've never seen him act in anything apart from doing impressions. Has anybody seen him act in anything apart from doing impressions?
No, not a thing.
Let us know in the chat. I would like to see Catherine Tate doing an impression of Jodie Whittaker. Says M in the chat there. I'm not sure I'd like to see that, but
live with that.
Whatever. Garbage says, forget John Coleshaw. There's a picture of Anthea Turner.
Anthea Turner. What happened to her?
She one of the contestants as well.
What happened to her?
So she is.
There she is. Yeah, looks like it over here. There she is.
Yeah,
little Anthea. Tiny Anthea. Yes, looks like it. She was the Blue Peter presenter who'd made the old what do they call it? The Tracy Island, wasn't she? So
Tracy Island. Oh, actually.
Blown up.
Oh, can I just
blown
say,
up live on screen?
Can I just say hello to two little boys that might be watching, because they are big Thunderbird fans and Doctor Who fans. I'd like to say hi Teddy and hi Zach. Get to bed. They love the Daleks, the Cybermen, K9, and they love Doctor Who. And they discovered this show through their dad Phil. Well done, Phil. Pass the word on.
Yes,
hi guys.
We'll keep it. We do try and keep the show clean. We promise.
Exactly.
Parents done right. Happy Tuesday, Phil and the kids. Thank you for watching. Mega the Extremists watching in the chat. Coleshaw is amazing as a comedy impressionist, but that's it. I don't take him seriously as an actor. Just have to listen to him as the Brig on Big Finish, and you'll hear what I mean. It's terrible. I haven't heard John Coleshaw perform the Brigadier fully. I've heard a trailer and one scene, and I've got to be honest, I thought he was outstanding. But I suppose maintaining that for an hour and a half to 2 hours, I'll take your word for it. I haven't heard those. Anybody heard those in full? The Brigadier stuff, the Central Laws Doctor. No. Maybe not. I don't know. But he's also involved in this. There's a new line from Big Finish starting as well.
Cat.
Also involved in.
Yes.
Also, Sarah, your pussies just fell off the window.
Exactly. Oh, you're so horrible.
Yes, where were we? Somebody's distracting me from where we are. Let's get this.
Kids are watching. What is wrong with you?
John Coleshaw here. John Coleshaw's also reading this brand new audio novel. This is a new thing that Big Finish are doing. Audio books, literally audio books, traditional audio books. This one lasts about 6 hours. And I would gather it's a specially commissioned novel set in the classic era there with the invasion Cybermen and John Pertwee's Doctor and Liz Slade and Sarah Jane. So it'll all be read by John Coleshaw, and therefore one assumes he will do whatever little flourishes of voice work. We'll get a burst of his John Pertwee in that too. But this is another innovation from Big Finish. I know we've spoken before why we can't keep up with their lines of merch, Simon. We can't, can we?
Don't start me on it, really.
An audio book playing for 6 hours in the car.
How the hell have they managed to get the audiobook stuff? Because that was BBC, wasn't it? They were doing the audiobook stuff. So how have they managed to get? How Big Finish managed to get this side of stuff?
They've been sucked in, mate. They've been sucked in.
Possibly. I do like that artwork though. Who did that?
Yeah, I do.
Beautiful.
Brilliant.
I have got the artist on my Instagram page, so I'll make sure there's a link in the description of this video. Yes, this artist, I can't remember their name. Lots of beautiful artwork based around cult TV. So shows like Sherlock and The Expanse. Lots of great stuff this artist has worked on. And what I like about it is it's a style that is totally different from anything Big Finish has done before. Well, having said that, they have also done the cover for the new War Doctor Begins stories. They've also done that.
Yeah.
But again, it looks...
Bow ties are cool.
It just looks so different, doesn't it?
So is
It's
John Pertwee cool? He's cool as well.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of covers I think they should have gone for the modern Target novels. I know we've talked about
Yeah,
Ooh.
absolutely.
again.
Yeah.
Why not go for
yeah.
something like that, then? At least they're breaking the mold
Fresh.
and go for something new
Yeah.
and distinctive.
That's
rather
my
than just-
favourite design of a Cyberman. That's my favourite
lovely. The
design.
invasion style.
love
Invasion
it,
ones are brilliant.
Love it.
They are
Yeah.
absolutely gorgeous, aren't they? I think we've held off the pain long enough, everybody. Because yes, we have.
Bring it at us. Come on.
We have. There is a theme, a loose theme to this show. Yeah, the idea is we asked you guys, didn't we, across social media and on YouTube last Friday when I did a little pop-up video, kind of on my own, which Ian joined in. I did a pop-up video where we gave you the opportunity, didn't we, to put questions to all of us. Ask us literally anything that's Doctor Who related. And we were inundated, sort of, with questions. we've got a big chunk. We have got a generous stack of questions, everybody. We've got a generous stack of questions to make our way through. Most of them came to us completely anonymously. Which I thought just,
Oh dear.
that was my idea. But I thought that could be fun. I really thought that could be fun. And so here we are. We're going to get stuck into them now, and in no particular order. Let's pick.
Can
one
I just say to the Spacebookers as well? You can ask me anything at all, but my rates will not be up for negotiation. You pay for it. All right. Thank you very much.
So the idea is for the next however long, we're going to make our way through a few of these. We're going to access the matrix of information and try and answer these questions to the best of our abilities. Barnaby, he's getting serious now. That was a very determined.
Let's do this. Yes.
We don't know what's going to be said, do we? Obviously, keep the comments coming in the chat, and we'll do our best to keep an eye on whatever. What's this? Yes, I think people was referring to the upcoming full cast set of people to talk about the audios. Lots of Doctor Who audios. Big Finish have lost their way, says Mega the Extremist.
Yes, they have.
Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Yeah, well, I think we've talked about Big Finish quite a lot in the last couple of shows, and yeah, we're all wavering a little bit on that. But yeah, that's not one of the questions. I would read anything. I would listen to anything read by Fraser, says Charlotte Shields. A lot of them have got great voices, and
he's very good.
Distinctive voices. But yes, let's pick out a question. Let's go for it, shall we? And I haven't made a note of who sent them in. The ones that I do know, so I've just mixed all of them around. So I'm just going to pick them off, whichever one I come to first. So here we are. We've got.
I'm scared.
Stop stalling.
Yeah, stop
stalling, Dan. Stop stalling. Here we go. Question number 1. Here we are. Where are we? Yes, this is. What is your most treasured Doctor Who collectible or piece of ephemera?
What's ephemera mean?
Just like a memento or a piece of merchandise.
Oh, I see.
Or something that's close to you.
Okay. Well.
So in your case, that would be me. Yeah? Good.
Definitely.
Yes. What is your most treasured Doctor Who collectible or piece of ephemera? Who's got? Oh, everybody's deep in thought. JT's looking confident. You got an answer for us, JT?
Well, JT's got everything behind him.
Yeah, my most treasured Doctor Who piece is my first piece of Doctor Who merchandise, which was bought for me by my mum when I was off school ill, and it was Doctor Who and the Web of Fear, the Target novelization. And because I did not know that there was Doctor Who books available when I was off ill that day, and Mum brought it home after work one afternoon, and I devoured it within a couple of days. That started this thing around me, this obsession, which lasted up until 2017 of collecting Doctor Who things. And so that's my most treasured piece.
Stop stalling, Dan.
See, I think that emotion comes into it somewhere, doesn't it, Barnaby? What about you?
For me, I think my favorite piece of collectible is probably my Peter Davison jumper the one I think I wore in one of these ones,
Love it.
the cricket
Love
jumper.
it.
I just
Yeah.
love it. I wear it just like hanging around the house, and if anything, like I remember at one point I got a stain on it, and I was like, no, why? But thank God for Vanish. But it's just I love that thing, and it's going to start wearing out, and even then I'll keep repairing it and things like that, because I love Peter's costume, and I just love that.
I do
jumper.
too.
So,
I
yeah.
do too. Yeah.
I'm trying. I really hope like later on they release another one with because there's a different design in his last series, and I really want if they release that, I'd be the first one to buy that.
Yeah.
But how long have you had that jumper then, Barnaby?
Oh God, probably since the I think it came out during the 50th anniversary. So back in when was that? So that'll be 2013. 2013. I've had that since. So that's probably my treasured piece.
Wearing well, good quality merchandise item. They've got to last you a lifetime, some of these things, haven't they, Simon? What about you?
Mine actually isn't a piece of merchandise at all, largely because, to be honest, this is terrible. Most of the merchandise that I had as a kid has all gone. I let it all go many, many years ago. And so I bought it all back. I bought it all back from eBay at 10 times the price that I sold it for back then. I know it's terrible, isn't it? So my favourite piece of ephemera I've just gone and grabbed, actually. This is my very favourite piece of Doctor Who ephemera.
Lovely.
I made this when I was about 12.
Wow.
We're going to have to get a closer look at that.
It's a little balsa wood. It's a little balsa wood TARDIS. Hold on.
Yeah.
It's a little balsa
that's
wood
brilliant.
that I made. It has got a little light up in the top.
Yeah.
This is a big pen here.
Oh, fabulous.
And it's got a little light in. I don't even know whether it still works. Never got around to painting the bottom of it. But yeah, I made that when I was about 12. These are matchsticks here. These are matchsticks.
I love that.
That's
You
amazing.
know, Si, that reminds me of the John Pertwee era.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so the reason I'm so pleased with this is actually somehow it managed to survive the cull of just about everything that either went in the bin or went to the charity shop or got sold. This survived, and so this is really this is very precious to me.
He's probably going to sit on it now. Accidentally.
I love how bright blue it is.
Yeah.
It is bright blue, isn't it?
Yeah, it should be like your hair, mate. Yeah.
It should be sitting in the corner of the lab. It
That's
does
right.
remind me
That's
of
right,
that.
yeah.
Wonderful.
It just needs to sit sort of just over sort of there. Doesn't it?
You
Just
need to
needs
build a shelf for it, pal.
Yeah.
It just needs a little shelf just there, doesn't it?
Absolutely beautiful. Yeah, I am. I'm sort of in awe of somebody being able to make something like that when they were of that age, just like garbage here. Simon Horton, I couldn't even make that now in my 40s, let alone when I was 12. Good
I don't
job,
think I could
mate.
make it now, to be honest. I think I'd probably struggle with it now. Bless it.
Fabulous, very professional. How about you, Sarah? What would you pick?
Well, I haven't really got many collectibles because I was quite late to the party. I have a knitted jelly baby that I've shown before.
Can't eat that one.
So I've got sentimental value to that. I'm gonna
You've got a range of t-shirts.
I've got a range of t-shirts. I'm gonna probably say something really vomit-inducing and say all the friends that I've made.
Hey!
Great.
Yeah.
I have met because I met Dan through Doctor Who, and then I met Simon.
I feel so sorry for
Met
you.
Lyle, so yeah.
You've got some lovely stuff though, haven't you? You've got some very nice items. I know you've got a gorgeous Peter Capaldi sort of limited edition set of discs, haven't you? And beautiful packaging and things like that. You know, that's stuff that you've I know you've boasted about and proudly displayed over social media before now. But what's a diplomatic answer, everybody? I don't think we can't really pour any sort of scorn on that, can we? Or take the piss.
No.
She's good at
Ian.
kissing ass. Sorry.
Ian, what about you, mate? What about you?
Well, I haven't got it anymore, but when I was a kid, for Christmas, and this is the only time I ever got something that I wanted for Christmas, but that's just my family, of course. It was the annual. It was a Doctor Who annual, and it had John Pertwee on the cover. And I can't remember whether it was 79 or 75, or I can't remember I know it's the 70s, I think.
Yeah, way before that then.
Yeah, it had John Pertwee on the cover. And you know that new smell you get with the annual when you open it? I still remember that smell. And I read it cover to cover. Must have read it about 10 times. 10 times. Even
Maybe
more
haven't
so, I
still got it,
guess.
it'd be worth a fortune
No,
by
it's
now.
gone. It's gone.
Oh,
It's gone,
no.
mate. It's gone. It's ripped apart by
Because
my brother who hated Doctor Who. So there you go.
That word ephemera. Have we got an official definition of the word ephemera? Because that
It's
does
used
imply
in
something.
that's in Doctor Who. It was used by the Eternals to describe us in Enlightenment. They call us ephemerals.
It means sort of things that are here. Let's get the official sort of
I'm looking for it as we
official
speak.
definition.
Who's going to get there first? Here we go.
Something that's go on. You take that one, Simon.
It seems to have lots and lots of different meanings. What's this? Especially something
General-
transitory
You are
or
not an ephemeral.
short-lived, which
Yeah.
is why, because it's in Enlightenment, something transitory or short-lived.
You are not
I
an
think-
ephemeral.
I-
You're a
Oh,
time
here we go.
lord.
I think this is the meaning we're talking here, though. A class of collectible items not originally intended to last for more than a short time, but that have lasted purely because the people wanted them to survive. So it's kind of ephemeral stuff transit stuff that wouldn't normally have lasted, but people have held on to it, and thus it has a second life, as it were. It's that.
Wow.
That's
So
ephemera.
some of the chat we've got 88 bits sync boy chips in with that, isn't it? Short-lived.
Yeah,
we got
short-lived.
we got an answer. We got your answer, didn't we, Ian?
Yeah. Mine
Yeah,
was
we've got-
the annual. Yeah.
Yeah. So that just leaves me, doesn't it? Yeah. So I've had extra thinking time, everybody. Extra thinking time. Because this with me, it has kind of changed over the years, and
What a
there is.
surprise, mate.
It has, because I think if it was intact, I think I would probably one item I would really sort of treasure above all else. But I can't bear to look at it now. It's so dilapidated. I'd kind of like a new one. That's another question. But I think looking at the ephemera and Simon's TARDIS there, it's nowhere near as impressive as that. But I do have my original off-air recording onto a VHS tape of the 5 Doctors from 1983.
Wow.
So when you hold, and I think I've shared pictures of this before. So it's a big chunky cartridge VHS tape, which I know everybody knows what they look like.
Yeah.
But this was one of the original kind of breed of them, really, in the early 80s, where they were really heavy. They made them. They were sort of made. But industrially, just out of better material, weren't they? So you never felt like the plastic would give way in your hands. Really, really chunky. And so I recorded the 5 Doctors on broadcast night on the 25th of November, 1983. I'd been looking forward to it for weeks, probably months. And I knew I was always going to keep it. I knew I was never going to record over that. And so I took it out of its case, out of its Scotch case or whatever it was. And I dropped it inside one of those plastic boxes that makes it look like a book that you put on a shelf with the gold leaf down the spine.
I remember them.
I remember those.
So I did that, and I christened it Who Won. So I gave it Bessie's number plate. I christened it Who Won. And I also hand illustrated labeling for the side of the tape, when you used to pop it into a top loader.
I used to do that.
Crunch there. So I put the along the side, sort of illustrated. So I got it on there and on the top of the tape as well for when you put it in. And I think I may have made a note on where on the counter that the 5 Doctors finished, and there was room for Resurrection of the Daleks original I put on the end. So yeah, I would probably say that, which it's not merchandise, but it's definitely ephemera. I certainly didn't think that I would still have it and that it would still play. I can say that it still plays nearly 40 years later, 38 years later, and it's still in working order. I'm happy to say. Pictures coming up a bit later on Instagram. So
does it have the BBC Globe in the beginning before it starts?
No, because it came from Children in Need, so it would have been Terry Wogan making the link.
Oh, right. I got you.
Yes, we've got a bit of a speech from Terry Wogan on that one. Yeah. So, what about you guys in the chat? Have you let us know what you think? What are your collectibles there? Vanessa says I recorded every Tom Baker episode on VHS and then got rid of them when I moved. We've all
done that.
That must be a lot of VHSs. Wow. A lot of tapes.
40 stories.
Yeah,
40 stories. Yeah. Let's go for a second question. I think we're cooking with gas now, aren't we? That's the thing. Cooking with gas. Let's go for another one. Where are we? There. That. Boom. If you were handed the reins as showrunner what would you change?
We've
Now,
answered this question.
Yeah, we have answered
Many
this
times.
one, and I knew it was going to turn up again. I did, but
Yeah.
of course, the people out there who are watching this time may not have heard us answer it that time, or squirm, or whatever. And not all of us were present. Not all of us were present on those past occasions. So, Barnaby,
Yeah.
what would you do if you were handed the reins as showrunner? What would you change? You know, I think they mean sort of first. What would be the first thing you go in as the clean broom? What would you say? Okay, that has got to go.
Get rid of all the old sort of writers and just get in some people who actually, have passion. Maybe bring in a couple of fans as well, like fans to actually come and write, some new and up and coming writers and things like that. Make it a sort of a flagship for new talent to come and write for it. I mean, that would be fantastic. I remember when I first came on these streams saying the music in the new series is quite good. I was wrong. Get in a new.
I knew it.
Yeah, you were right, Ian. Get in a new music guy, please. Immediately. The cinematography is still good.
Yeah.
So writers, music, and just sort of like new people, and also we've all said this hundreds of times, but current year politics, please, you've got to make it timeless. Have the odd bit of you can put in the odd bit of politics in there just to as subtle hints, because I love the Happiness Patrol. I love the Happiness Patrol with its view of Thatcher and all these sort of things. That's great. Little bits there, not just full on, just lectures telling us how we should be feeling. Please. So yes. So pretty much that's what everyone probably thinks, I guess.
As a springboard for good storytelling, Barnaby. And of course, if you haven't got it on the page, if you haven't got that good content on the page to start off with, you haven't really got anything in it. As an actor, you said to me recently on our podcast that we recorded, there we are, get the plug in later on for that. On the podcast, you said that the script is, I think, did you use the word gospel? Something like that. That it was
when you're an actor and you've got the script in front of you, the lines there. I mean, the lines that are written down that you've got to say in the verbatim. I mean, that's what I was taught at drama school. You've got to say it down verbatim, but it is quite nice for back in the Tom Baker era. I mean, Tom was pretty much like. He was, I think at certain points he ended up just directing it, and he would just say, "Oh, can we do it this way? Can we do it that way?" And they were like, "Oh, okay, Tom, yeah, you do you. That's great."
Yeah, the lapel, that's right.
Yeah, and so a bit of that as well. I think good directors listen to their actors. One other thing I would be quite fun if I was a showrunner. Maybe do when Pertwee's first series, when he was stuck on Earth with no TARDIS. Was I was never really a big fan of that, but rewatching it, that was actually really good fun. Maybe a couple of episodes all set in the same place. With that very fun sort of brigadier.
They're probably doing that now, aren't they? Because they've run out of money. They're probably doing it next. They've run out of money. So
it's all going to be set in Sheffield from now on.
Yeah, or Barry Island. It's all going to be in Barry Island.
Yeah, stranded in Barry Island. Sarah, does that sound like a good starting point? What would you do if you were handed the reins as a showrunner? What would you change first out?
Yeah, I think Barnaby's kind of nailed it. Get some actual talent. I would go begging cap in hand to get Murray Gold back, because I love Murray Gold, as you know. I would try and rebuild the trust with the fans and try and I would be a bit more open minded, and
you'll get slaughtered.
I know.
You'll get slaughtered by the other side, of course. Yeah.
I think just walking around going la 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 is not the best way.
No, it's not. Not at all.
To run a TV show, not listening to any criticism, and insulting your fans is not the most successful way of doing that. So I would. Yeah.
It's an overwhelming feeling. I can't imagine how it would feel. Where would you start? Unless you go in there with a fistful of P45s, JT.
I'm waiting for JT. Come on, JT. Give it to us.
The Terminator.
Well, the first thing I would do, of course,
He's got the jacket.
Yeah. The first thing, of course, I would do is I would move it to Scotland and sack the Welsh. And that's the first thing I would do, obviously. And then it's well known by the Space Bookers that I would completely get rid of everybody that's worked on it in the last few years. I would completely reboot it. and I would make it Doctor Who again. I agree with Sarah. One of the things I would do is reassure the fans. And Ian, I'm not worried about the extreme left wingers. They can do one. Get rid of them.
I know.
You've only come in here to bend the knee and virtue signal. Bugger off. I would get back. I would try and bring fandom back to where we know fandom is and what it should be. And I would be very honest with them to say, don't worry. I know what Doctor Who is. I've got people who will work with me, and you'll all be employed. And you can, we're going to bring this show back. And then I would say to the BBC, I want it to be a series of 26 30-minute episodes a year, and then I would go from there. Everything would be it would be Doctor Who. You would watch the episode, he would come in, and that's the Doctor, and you would know it'd be the Doctor.
I've got a question for the panel. I mean, in terms of like, if we were showrunner, do you think people would kind of like the return of the serialized format?
Yes.
Where it's like, because I quite like that. I remember when I was watching.
I knew that Simon felt that way. I knew that you've always felt that way. But JT, that's really surprised me that you've said that. And you thinking it over too, Barnaby? Yeah, it has. It has. I thought that you enjoyed the momentum of the new series and the 45.
No, I find it. Sorry, Barnaby. I find the 45-minute, 60-minute formula, apart from the specials, I find that they don't help character, and I find that they're pushing too much into 45 minutes or 60 minutes, and I don't think that's good for writers. I don't think it's good for directors. I don't think it's good for actors to portray a character, because that you've got to get it done. I think if we went back to 30-minute episodes, and I would have it on twice a week, and I would get rid of that bloody awful one show and replace it at 7 o'clock twice a week and have it on there. But I would develop it over the old-fashioned style, 4 episodes for one story, because I think that just brings it out. I mean, if you go back now and you're looking at lovely things like Enlightenment, great story. I watched Warriors of the Deep the other day. One thing when I was 14 I didn't like, but I actually liked the fact it would, thank you, garbage, mwah, 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 darling. But, if, something like that, people sort of came out, and I think today, because we know what the show is and we know the capabilities, and we have to have good writers. Sarah, you're totally right. We have to bring them in. Wouldn't care what their politics are either, by the way, as long as they can write a bloody good story. You write a bloody good story. I think that's the future for Doctor Who. Not that the BBC are listening in any way, shape, or form.
Our mate Gary Beekler on Nerdrotic, he says that they need to bring in people of talent. And I think that expression, every time he says that, hi Gary. I know he watches.
People of talent. That's a great hashtag. Let's nab that.
It's so simple. It's not lessening anybody else in any respect. It's just a focus in on that quantity that a show, that any creative property, particularly one this large, this far-ranging, with this potential to continue to evolve and to continue to please people. There's no real reason why Doctor Who, as a concept, should ever stop, is there, Simon? If you take care of it, TLC, what would you do?
I think it's fairly obvious. Everybody knows what I do. I would change absolutely everything. I would sack everybody. Nobody,
even Chibnall,
that show is working. It's doing a good job. Absolutely nobody. Get rid of the lot. Scrap it. To be honest, I would get rid of the show. I would put it to bed for a good year and let it find its feet again. And when it comes back, I would scrap all of this rubbish that is kind of the sort of lore of all this stuff about Rassilon and Cybermen turning into Time Lords. Just get rid of the lot of that. All I want is stories like the Robots of Death, the Talons of Weng Chiang, Pyramids of Mars. They have nothing to do with being Doctor Who stories. I don't like Doctor Who that is about Doctor Who. I like good stories. That's all I'm interested in. Yeah, you look at all the greats, Caves of Androzani, City of Death. None of them have got anything to do with Doctor Who. They're just good, well-written, well-directed, well-acted stories. That's what you need. You drop all the rubbish. I don't care about the Time War. I don't care about any of that rubbish. Just get back, make some decent stories. That's it. So everybody goes, and we go back to a show that is about a bloke, and I'm going to be precise here, a bloke in a blue box, flying around the universe, flying around time and space, who just happens to land somewhere, finds a really thrilling adventure that everybody wants to know how it works out at the end, and he solves it, and he moves on, and next week we're in a new place. That's what I want.
I think, Simon, you've
I'll be
said
here.
that
Agree.
beautifully. I mean, the problem with Doctor Who in
Really
this
well.
day and age is that it's very aware of itself, isn't it? So it's actually become Doctor Who about
hate
Doctor Who.
that.
What a load of balls
I
that
don't
is.
give-
You're
I
absolutely
don't give a
right.
damn. I don't care about Time Lords. I love Time Lords. Don't get me wrong. I love Time Lords, but I don't care about all the machinations about all who did and they moved this planet. I don't care. Is it a good story?
Absolutely.
As I say,
Absolutely.
all the great
I'm-
stories have nothing to
it's
do with
because-
I'm going to blow my own.
That I just think we need to simplify it again. Back to basics.
Absolutely, Sarah.
And we need a hero again.
Oh, yeah.
It's that simple. I'm going to blow my own trumpet for a little while. You can carry on watching, I promise. It's that, I said back in, when would it have been? Oh, God, it's well over a year now. I said last year on the Type 40 podcast, we were talking about Fugitive of the Judoon, Simon, when you and I got together to review that.
Why did you have to spoil my day?
Absolute agony. But the thing that I said at the end of that, when various things were revealed in that about the fugitive doctor and all this law-shaking stuff that some people out there get excited about, whatever floats your boat. But what I said was it was an early indicator of the fact that, as JT just said, Doctor Who is beginning to eat itself
Correct.
from the inside.
Absolutely.
Now,
Correct.
I said that I think that would have been around the midway point in Series 12. So that was, say, week 5. I had no idea that it would consume itself just over a month later by the end of that series. And and the thing is, and the reason why it's done that, I think, JT, is because that quantity that you were just explaining, that they haven't just let it be, let it move on. It's very self-conscious, aware of it.
Was Doctor Who on last year, or the version of Doctor Who? Was it on last year? I don't. It had that much of it. Was it?
But you're right. Yes, it
We
is.
won't
It is very
confuse the man further. Ian,
I
you and I
don't know.
Ian, you and I have spoken about this at length
Yeah.
several
Yeah.
times already. Has your mind changed about any of this? And the more you listen to people, be they other creatives, people who work in TV, such as Simon, people who've worked in publishing, actors who've got to say this stuff. Has your opinion evolved since the last time we spoke about it, or are you just more convinced in your thinking?
No, I just think that they've started this new thing now that episodes are not of a set length, and I like that idea. So if I was in charge, if I was the showrunner, I would have Doctor Who. I would have people. Obviously, I would fire everybody and fire Jodie and everybody else, and get some writers in. But I'd have the writers write an episode and finish it when it naturally thinks it's finished. I wouldn't have them have. I wouldn't say it's got to be 30 minutes. Do you know what I mean? I would. They would write to, like, it could be a 45-minute one. It could be a 30-minute one. Do you know what I mean? So that's what I would do.
From a
I really
scheduling point
believe
of view, though, that's confusing.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
But
But
in an ideal world,
yeah, in an ideal,
In an ideal
I
world,
would do
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I would do that. But also,
Creatively, that's beautiful, isn't it?
yeah, exactly.
You mean
But
if it was on Netflix,
also,
if it was on Netflix, you
Yeah.
could do it.
you can,
I
yeah.
think
But
It probably
also,
could, yeah.
Well,
I
they do.
think Doctor Who needs to change slightly. We can't go backwards. We've got to go forwards, right? And I'm open to new ideas from different people to actually make the show grow into something new. I agree with Sarah. I think Sarah said it last time. They keep bringing back the Daleks. They keep bringing back the Master. They keep bringing back all the companions. Blah blah blah. What we should do is we should create our own new set of villains, own new set of parameters for the Doctor and go forward.
This is the kind of thing I'm talking about, because again, the great stories I'm mentioning, none of them have or
Exactly,
not many
yeah.
of them have got those classic stories. They are all new monsters the whole time. Terror of the Zygons, you've got all of these stories. They're all one-off. At the time, they were one-off monsters, but some of them have never appeared again.
I mean, Chibnall tried to do it, didn't he? With the teeth monster.
I'm sure, yeah.
Teeth monster. What the hell was that all about? But yeah, I mean, just go show how crap he is, right? So
There's nothing that I would do that anybody else hasn't already mentioned. I mean, for me, just as Barnaby said, it would have to start with the writing. I think think desperately more than, and I'm talking, that I don't agree with having gender swap the Doctor. It's not my taste at all. But I think even more fundamentally than that, the writing is the
that's a platform you have to build upon.
And but it's so lacking at the moment. I cannot believe that a show that used to sing with the voice of Russell T Davies now spends its time messing
In the
around,
sewer.
chanting stuff that is largely inconsequential, that is not even a tangible thing.
Yep.
And it's not about people, not about actual story. I just don't understand how we've got there this quickly. And
We do.
and when you guys mentioned the change of format, I quite like. The more I hear it, the more I like it. I think it would have to. If they could break it into those 25-minute chunks, but it would have to be delivered twice a week. I think that would be.
I would go for that simply because we are dealing with 2, maybe 3 generations now that have grown up on reality television crap, and soap opera, and of course back in Davison's day, when they moved Doctor Who to twice a week, that was the forerunner to test where EastEnders would go. And I think if it was shown twice a week at 7 o'clock, for example, on BBC One, if the BBC ever got its act together, I doubt it ever will at this stage. But if it was there in an ideal world, I think it would do extremely well before EastEnders. I think it would pull in at least 8 million viewers per episode. And if you had the writing, the quality of writing. But the quality of writing, again, it has to start from whoever is in the chair. And you're absolutely right, Dan. At the moment, we've got a person in the chair that hasn't a clue what Doctor Who is and is basically making it up and painting by numbers. And the show has suffered. And as Russell T Davies himself has gone on record recently, he said, I don't even know what Doctor Who's about these days. Says it all.
Wow.
But he's too scared to say what's really on his mind, though. It's so obvious. All of
I
them
just don't think he cares because he's a man that
No, he
you're
does.
not going to be able to cancel or anything.
Yeah,
So
well,
I
I
just
think
think he's
he
moved
does.
on like the rest of us.
I know.
He
I
said
think
he doesn't understand it.
Well, he's a huge fan. I think he does care, but what can he say? He can't say anything.
I think he cares from the point of view. I've said this before, but I think he must just sit there watching and thinking, "How such good shape? What on earth did they do?" It was ruling the world when he left it.
Yeah, it was on its way. Yeah.
Charlotte's got a lovely point there that we just put up, saying that a showrunner who isn't a fan. I don't like the term showrunner. I think that's too much in an American format. I don't think it works for Doctor Who. I would definitely have producer and script editor, and the script editor would be a writer who knows the show, understands the show, loves the genre, and can write and talk to writers. And the producer would just have to do the day-to-day costings and everything like that. Get the show on the. I don't like the term showrunner. So what's the difference
between a showrunner and what you mentioned there, JT?
The showrunner, in Doctor Who's case, is the one that sets the tone, sets out the scripts and the style for an entire season. Thinks of these American-style story arcs. Puts the whole element together, is responsible for the whole look of the thing, and everything gets. So it's a glorified production role.
It's kind of an amalgamation of what the script editor and the producer were. It's kind of ramming those two roles together, both old style script editor and producer, putting them into one role. That's what it is. And
it's obvious some people can't do that because you're either one or the other. So I think even though Doctor Who these days does have a script editor, and they're not the Eric Sawers, they're not the Andrew Cartmells, they're not the Terry Dicks, they're not up to that thing. But
Roundels.
The Roundels would come back in my show, Duncan. You would have a beautiful TARDIS. I have somebody who's designed an amazing set, and you would love it. I can guarantee you.
Duncan Shaw here in the chat. He says, I also miss the Roundels from the classic TARDIS designs.
Very true.
Bring
what are the Roundels?
What are the Roundels?
What are the Roundels?
we don't know, do we? Should we have another question, everybody? Let's,
yeah.
That was that one. Let's have a look at this one. Okay. Oh, what's the best, Simon and Dan, about being connected with Doctor Who? And are there any regrets you have?
I'm glad you two have got that one.
Just sit back.
Yeah.
Simon, connected with Doctor Who.
I think I'm going to be really boring on this one. I'm going to go with Sarah's answer from earlier on. It is the people that you meet. It genuinely is such a great community, Doctor Who.
And the cats that you meet as well.
Such a
cute
community.
You get to meet people that you wouldn't meet otherwise, and you get to be really... You geek out about the stuff that you love. And so it's definitely the friendships that you make along the way.
I completely
whether they're
agree
virtual
with that.
friends online or whether they're real world friends, whatever, doesn't matter. That's
whether the show is in production or not, Simon, it's the same, isn't it? The fandom, the fandom endures, the fandom continues, the fandom is sort of ubiquitous, and you can interact with it. You can interact with it in whichever way that suits you, and probably more than ever. And I think it's been. If I've got any regrets, funnily enough, it's that I haven't been as involved in it as I would like to have been. I haven't gone to enough conventions when we were allowed to. I feel that I missed out on quite a lot of things because I was going out to the pub and stuff like that. I was invited various places, which now I think, I had the chance to go to that or see that or meet them, and I didn't do it. So I have regrets. I have regrets like that, and I think that if there's one thing that the modern age is sort of telling me, is that fans are still fans. But what I get frustrated about now is, as a Doctor Who fan, that we now seem to be sort of tested by a minority of Doctor Who fans who want to know which pile to put us on, largely because of our opinions or not, our awareness, not even opinions, about things that aren't even anything remotely to do with Doctor Who. I find it the strangest barrier to be put in place in the way of me and the show, the franchise that I love, and in between my fellow fans, between you guys watching out there and the people who I interact with, and the people who you make contact with. Even if it's just sort of a passing thing, you get the impression that sometimes people are trying to suss out where you stand on various things. I just think it's a shame. It's brought an agenda into it, and I do hope that dissipates. But
I hope so too.
Yeah, it is. It has to be. It has to be the fandom, and bringing my kids into it as well. I love seeing. I mean, talking to people who were there watching the show before myself. That used to frustrate the hell out of me when I was a kid. Really did that. I missed all this stuff, but now I get to see it. So I love talking to people who watched, like Ian, who watched Inferno when it went out. But I love talking to Barnaby, who grew up in the specific time that
nobody
he
likes
did too.
talking to Barnaby.
No point.
And how Sarah and I bonded when we, so it is. I know it's a bit of a cheesy answer, but it's a true.
But
one.
you know what? The thing I really do. I get upset about is that when I was young, that was a long time ago. When I was young, right, I felt special because I was into Doctor Who, and Doctor Who was part of me. But all of a sudden, 2017 came along, and suddenly Doctor Who was huge, and I felt like I was an outside. I felt that been taken away from me. And I don't know how to feel about that. I am a fan. Then I'm only, you felt special.
I feel like sort of people have appropriated the thing that was just one of those things where it's great, isn't it? I think it's the same with many, many things. It's great when you kind of think you're there ahead of everybody else. You're the one that's into it. When all of the general public aren't, and the minute the general public are into it, they're getting into your thing that the blue hair's not here problem being. Wait, I've tried. It didn't work.
New people joining the chat all the time, all looking for one answer. They have one question. They want one answer, Simon. It's not any of the questions that we're talking about. They want to know about the blue. They want to know about the blue hair. They want to know. They want to know the truth. He has got this rather gorgeous police box, which he's showing instead, which we'll just have to make do with that. Make do with that for the time being.
Can I just say to garbage? The Doctor Who shop. It's the Who shop. Which has been around for 30 years nearly, I think.
Do you know
run by the lovely Alex? It's well worth a visit. Go and treat yourself when you can.
And if you can't, let me just get this in now. If you can't get to the Who shop, the Who shop may be coming to you. We're gonna see. Watch this space. Watch this space for that.
What was I going to say? At the BFI, they had a Doctor Who exhibition. I don't know if you guys remember that. And I remember going in there, and there was hardly anybody in there. Although it was a weekday, I must admit, and going in there and looking at Dalek and stuff like and other stuff that was there, and I felt really special. Now you can never do that. Now, if you have a Doctor exhibition at BFI, it'd be jam packed with people. You'll be able to move.
You would hope it was, but I'd argue right now it wouldn't be because
now,
now,
definitely now, yeah, you're right.
Big shame. Jonathan Cox, hey Jonathan, good to see you. There is one pile of Doctor Who fans. I think during Doctor Who lockdown, again, thanks Emily, last year, it did go to show that under the surface, Doctor Who fans, when it counts and when it boils down to it, Doctor Who fans band together regardless of the things that divide them about on-screen content. The garbage says cryptic. The Spacebook very cryptic. Which was cryptic?
The Who Shop.
Oh, that.
It's not really garbage. It's a plug. Watch this space.
Good to see. We've got various people. Yeah, lovely to see people turning up. I love it. I love it. Let's pick another question, shall we? We're on a bit of a roll, aren't we? Let's have another one. Given all Rosie's seen and heard as mascot, what would she most want to take back to the Emperor? Now,
JT.
You can have him.
Exactly.
What's your blue hair?
Do you think she's been observing us the whole time, Sarah? Yeah. It's been a while now, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's going to exterminate you one day, mate. I'll tell you that for nothing.
I'm right in the line of fire, but we know that Daleks can do anything now, can't they? They can interface with technology, can't they, JT? She could probably interfere with the internet.
That's right.
Some way.
I think we should move on that subject. I mean, there's enough interference on the internet.
I think we should. I'd like to think if there's something that I have introduced Rosie to, and I've got my suspicions about, it's cashew nuts. I love cashew nuts. They're a great source of protein. If you're a runner, if you like to work out, I recommend cashew nuts. But I can open a packet of cashew nuts, put some in a dish, go to get a couple, and there's always a few less than I thought. It can't be me that's eating them. Think it would explain a thing.
I'm going to be really, really boring now. Did you know they're not cashew nuts at all? They're cashews. They're not nuts.
Yeah. I did not know that. They're not nuts.
Seriously, they're not cashew nuts.
This is what absolute nonsense. You don't get this on Radio Free Scaro, do you? Come on, please like this video, subscribe to the channel. Yes. Hit the little
get
bell
information
to get the
like that.
This is the good stuff. Absolute
Cashews,
internet
non-nuts.
Gold. Let's have another question, everybody.
Yeah, roll us another question.
If you could have any classic creature or alien return in a new episode, JT,
any question except that.
Which would it be? It can be a short or long answer.
Robot of death.
If you could have any classic creature or alien return in a new episode, which would it be? Well, as you who sent? Oh, we don't know who sent this in. As you know, Spacebookers, I'm all for moving on, and I think old characters are few and far between. If you have any classic creature or alien to return from 26 glorious years, and I take it down, this means the ones that we haven't seen in the modern day version of Doctor Who, like Davros and all that.
Well, they don't stipulate. I mean, maybe not.
Well, there is a few. If I had to go down that route, I would like to do a cracking thriller with the Black Guardian. I've always quite liked the Black Guardian, and I think he was quite underrated, but he scared me as a boy. And Bob Baker's wonderful Armageddon Factor scared me because there was a character in that called the Shadow.
The skull master.
And even the costume scared me. And the Black Guardian's influence in that, I think if with a good writer, I think that could be a real horror stroke thriller type thing. So I'm going to go for the BG.
Wow. I'm going to go for the big rat in
the big John Baker with the blunderbuss.
That's all right. I want to go for that one.
I'm still reeling from JT's. I would go for the BG because I immediately thought of Morris Gibb again. We know that you can't let him safe in a TARDIS. Go on, sorry, Ian. Yes, you'd bring back.
I'm just saying, bring back the rat. Basically, bring back the rat. That's what I would ring because the effects were so amazing.
Since Ian, in all honesty,
Barnaby, what would you bring back? Which monster would you bring out the dark queue?
Oh, the Candyman. Definitely.
Oh, no!
Just to really piss off Bassett,
I like it.
I love the Candyman. If I'm being serious, though, the Valiard.
Bertie Bassard.
The Valiard, right?
I do like the idea of the concept of the Valiard, and I wish he had been drawn out.
Well, they didn't bring him back, did they?
No,
and that's the magic of him, though, isn't he? Because he's never been seen again, and we know he's the Doctor. And when you watch those lovely episodes, the way it's played in Trial. In that episode where the master says this, as I've always known in the Doctor, wonderfully played, and that's the magic of the Valiard.
And
would
Michael
you-
Jaston as well. I mean, him just like I've talked about this before. Why I just love Trials so much. Just the way he can just monologue, and he's a brilliant actor. He may be a little bit too old to reprise the role, but I don't know. You can get I know so many brilliant actors who can do that.
The meddling monk.
The meddling monk. Yeah, oh, that's a good one,
excellent.
actually.
Yeah. Oh,
So
dear.
that's what I was wondering. You know, would you get Michael Jaston back? But he's such a distinctive actor, and that voice, it's piercing, isn't it, Simon? You can still hear it.
Is he still alive?
Yeah,
he's still alive.
He
He does some big Finish ones.
Box
What does
set, doing some documentaries and stuff. Yeah, he's still around. I worked with
Fantastic
Michael Jaston briefly.
Very
and
theatrical.
He's a
Wow.
charming man. He's an absolute gentleman. And I was not, that is one of my regrets. I was asked earlier, what was one of my regrets? I didn't say to him at the time, I saw you in Trial of a Time Lord and thought you were fantastic because you know, when you work,
it's something you
Would
didn't
have
do.
through
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
Being professional and being fanish.
Yeah.
Anyway, to answer the question, I would bring back Robots of Death definitely at the drop of a
I
hat.
love them.
Or I'd bring back Sutek in the Sirens from. I think that's just something that's
Oh,
really
Simon,
never.
just nick my answer.
I'm sorry. No, I wouldn't bring that.
Robots of Death.
Sarah, who would you bring back, Sarah?
No, because you've said it.
Love the Robots of
No,
Death.
I've taken it back. I've drawn it back. I'm Robots of Death.
Sarah
That's
can
why
have
I
it.
would bring back
It's like
Sutek
what
in Sirens.
Barnaby was saying, you know, that Gabriel Wolf has got such an amazing voice.
Beautiful voice.
And presence.
Absolutely.
And he terrified me. From the modern series, I'd say The Dream Lord, because I really like
Yeah.
episode.
It was good.
You can have a lot of fun with that. And just for the hell of it, the Typhonian from Creature of the Pit. Because,
I knew one of us was going to say that, I just knew one of us was going to say that. I'm surprised and shocked it's you, Starry-Eyed.
I mean, they want this big villain. They want the patriarchy. What could embody the patriarchy more than a Typhonian?
That's true.
So Sarah, you think the Typhonian ambassador's basically been misunderstood all these years? You're wrong, haven't we? Actually, it's the best monster Doctor Who ever had.
Absolutely, it's classic.
Robots of
That
Death, though.
That green proboscis, I
Definitely
tell you.
robots.
Love the Robots of Death.
Yeah.
So,
They should come back,
Phil.
mate. They should come back.
So that's your official answer, is it, Ian?
No, mine's just the rat. Mine's just the rat. Mine's
he's
just
a
the
giant
rat.
I thought you don't want to change?
Given,
Oh, okay.
given the current,
No,
given the
Robots
current
of Death.
regime that's running the show, actually, I wouldn't want the Robots of Death. I wouldn't want any of these to come back because
Yeah,
they're
it's true. Yeah, no, you're right. But we're just entertaining the question. That's all. But yeah, I wouldn't bring anyone back.
Anyway.
Personally.
If you could bring back any classic creature or alien in a new episode, which would it be? It is a often heard question. It's only fair to say it's something that we've answered several times before in one form or another. But for me, if I'm going to have to say it, it has to be. Of course, it is.
Yeah.
I would
With their flares.
absolutely.
Well, that's why they couldn't possibly bugger it. They'd have to improve on the original mandrels.
They will. Yeah, they will.
I would bring back the mandrels. I definitely would. I love the concept. I love the way they look with their sort of Dennis Healy eyebrows there. I think that's absolutely perfect. And I think there's scope to build the mythology. This is another fantastic creation of Bob Baker, the writer Bob Baker. And such a vivid, that original design is so vivid. It could be updated, expanded. They could do so many things.
Well,
I just love it to be.
If any of the space bookers have actually bought the K9 Megabytes book, the mandrels are different in the story. There's an element there which explains why they look like that in the TV series, because Bob never liked that design.
Don't
So
blame
of
him.
course, there's an element in the mandrel book, in the mandrel story of it's called The Time Thief, where that is explained as to why it is.
Absolutely marvelous
Never
stuff.
knew
Should we have another
Omega.
question, everybody?
Yeah,
Should we have
Duncan
another?
Short, Omega.
Is it a good question?
So many great answers. No, we've had
What's
that
this?
one.
Oh,
we've had
hello.
that one. It's
that
this one. Okay, what is the team's favourite of the Target novelizations and why? Ian.
No.
What's that?
Just
face?
seriously,
I'm gonna go and get mine.
I've never read any of them, so I can't answer this question at all.
No, I haven't read them either.
No.
Do you ever?
Sorry.
Do you see? You must hear Doctor Who fans talk about this and wonder
Yes,
what it's about.
a lot.
Were you a big reader as a boy, or was it just you?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't very good at reading when I was a kid. My brother used to read stuff to me when I was 12. I got to grips with reading, and that's when I got the novel, the annual, the Doctor Who annuals and stuff like that. And it was because of Doctor Who that I started reading, and Marvel comics as well, I must admit. So yeah, no, I wasn't really into reading novels or books or anything like that. Comics was my thing when I was growing up. So there you go.
How about you, Barnaby? If they just passed you by because, of course, they were around and then they weren't, and now they're sort of around again. But it's
I do need to get into them, but I'm still reading the Virgin New Adventure books. I mean, my favorite so far that I've read was Strange England, which I really enjoyed.
Yes, I remember that one. Yeah.
And I think 2 months ago there was a really great article in Doctor Who magazine from the writer talking about it. And I'm still reading through the Time Worm series right now, just loving it. So, but I should get around to reading the Target novelizations, because you guys rave about them, so you're really getting me into them now.
It'd be different for you, Dublin, because the reason we rave about them, of course, is, as we said before on many editions of this show, is that back then you got no repeats, there were no videos, there was no DVD, there was no iPlayer, you got nothing. So we lived through books, and we relived the past adventures of the Doctor as well as the current ones ish through the Target books. And so there is a huge sentimentality from our generation to those books, because they were the only things we had.
And music and vinyls, music,
the Doctor Who vinyls, there was only the Genesis of the Daleks and the sound effects back then, and Pescatons, classic. That's all really. That all came a little bit later, didn't it? Really, as well.
Yes,
I remember when Genesis came out. Do you remember when Genesis came out? I nearly wet myself because they advertised it after Destiny of the Daleks on one of those old BBC. They just put the sleeve on an orange background and took a photograph.
But JT is right. In those days, we had nothing. We had nothing to go back to. It was the novels, and it was the books, and it was.
We didn't have electricity.
Yeah, no, we didn't. Yeah, we lived in a cave.
I have no doubt that you own all the books too, JT. But have you got a favourite? The Target ones?
Yeah, I mean, as I said earlier, I think my first one was the Web of Fear, first piece of merchandise for myself. That has got a very special place in my heart. I love that book. I do have several others. I loved Ben's version of Remembrance of the Daleks, which of course is a very later on Target book.
People in the chat are mentioning that because, of course, there's the content of the book, and then there's the actual physical item of the book. Isn't
Absolutely,
there? It's a different thing.
Absolutely. And then Mark's version of Battlefield is really engaging, and I love that the new series sort of alludes to Mark's book, because the prelude is a ginger doctor. He's there and he's ginger, and he's Merlin. So there you are. So that's lovely and splendid. But also, one of my ultimate favorites of the Target range is Earthshock by Ian, because that came for me at a time when I suddenly realized that the Target books could be a little bit more than what we'd been getting. No disrespect to Terrence Dicks, because I loved him to bits and he was a huge influence to me, but it was Ian's Visitation where I thought, this is a little bit different to what we've been getting. It's Simon, yours is the Turlo and the Earthlink dilemma, isn't it?
I do like Turlo and Earthlink. My very favourite Target book, which I've just gone and picked up, is this one.
The original.
Doctor Who in an exciting adventure with the Daleks. This one, I mean, it wasn't the first Target book I read, but I still think this is a work of absolute genius, and anybody that hasn't read it, really, you are doing yourself a disservice. It's written in the first person by... as though from Ian Chesterton's perspective. It's written totally from Ian's point of view. It's a brilliant piece of work. It's magnificent. And I'm just going to read you out a tiny little bit of it here, because I've just found the bit where they discovered the climax is when they come across a glass Dalek. I mean, come on. Years ahead of its time, a glass Dalek. And it says... The Dalek looked totally evil, sitting on a tiny seat with two squat legs, not quite reaching the floor. The head was large, and I shuddered at the inhuman bumps where the ears and nose would normally be, and the ghastly slit for a mouth. One shriveled little arm moved about restlessly, and the dark green skin glistened with the same oily substance that had revolted me before. I mean, come on, who doesn't want to read that now? That's
made of glass.
That's glass Dalek.
Wow.
And it's because of this that we ended up ultimately with a glass Dalek in Revelation of the Daleks.
Fabulous.
So that's
glass
my favourite.
Was it on the ceiling? No. Sorry.
Sarah, how about you? How about you, Sarah? Have you managed to get any of the old books or any of the new ones?
Kind of like passed me by a little bit, but I have got. My friend Steve did gift me original. It's I think it's Doctor and the Silurians.
The Cave Monsters.
That's brilliant. That one.
Yeah,
Great story.
And the only other one I've got is I've got the modern one. I've got Rose. I mean, there's a nice little prelude to the janitor, the Wilson, who Rose was looking for at the start. There's a bit more backstory to him, and there's a wonderful scene that RTD added where the Autons chase the Doctor and Rose through London, and there's an entire subplot involving the London Eye crashing, and
wow.
I quite really enjoyed it. Yeah, so yeah, I'm definitely going to get into them more.
Libraries still exist these days. My local library.
All of my early Target novelizations came from libraries. Couldn't afford to buy them at the time, so everything.
What gets me about the Targets that were in the libraries, of course, a lot of them were the Wyndham hardbacks.
Yeah,
and there are certain groups around now where they're all collecting them again, and they're coming up, and it's beautiful to see them.
I'm lucky that I've got a couple. I've got a couple of the hardbacks. One of which is the 10th Planet, which was the very, very, very first Doctor Who book I read. I managed to get a hardback library copy of the 10th Planet.
They had those beautiful smells because they put them in that plastic to protect them in the libraries. Remember, beautiful.
I don't own a single of the hardback ones, but I do own all the paperback ones, and the majority of them are the ones that I bought from however old I was, about 7 or 8 or whatever else. But the one that I'm most fond of, I think, is probably Doctor Who and the Loch Ness Monster. I think it's a combination of the fact it wasn't actually the local library, but we got it in my local school library, which is a grand way of saying a broom cupboard, which they'd taken the doors off, filled with shelves, and then slammed a load of paperbacks all over. So when I discovered reading, obviously I had no idea that there were Doctor Who books for a good while, but you'd pick your way through, and the teacher used to just go and pick a book and read it. And it got one of the little coloured labels on the bottom with the number on it. And they got 2 Doctor Who books. They got Doctor Who and the Loch Ness Monster and Doctor Who and the Giant Robot. And really, it's either of those two. But the Loch Ness Monster story, that was the one that spoke to me the most. I think it was a combination of the cover. It's so colourful.
Yeah.
But I think I've always liked that kind of, that was popularised by the X-Files in the 90s, that idea of monsters being among us. I'd already heard the story of the Loch Ness Monster. This is something that I've been sort of softly fascinated by, the Loch Ness Monster. Meet Doctor Who, my favourite TV show. So I grabbed it and poured over every single page. I read it because there were only 2 Doctor Who books in the school library. And of course, I don't think the teacher was keeping track of the fact that I was basically reading the same 2 books over and over again. So I used it to get out of doing something that I didn't, because most of the books were bloody awful. That's that's no reflection on the standard of the Doctor Who books.
The famous 5. You didn't read the famous 5?
No, it went through me like a dose of the salts. That did. Talking of which, yes, it's time. It's time for a commercial break, everybody.
I love that link. That's a brilliant link.
I know no shame, everybody. Yeah, so here we are. Let's take a break for a couple of minutes and check out some of this. See if there's any of these items that you would like to nip back in time and purchase at your leisure.
John and the kids are always out and about. All I know for sure is they get very hungry. Red calls for lamb chops and masses of Bisto gravy.
Bisto, made with the goodness from your meat. Browns, seasons, thickens, all in one delicious go. Mrs. Pertwee knows what every mum knows. For your Bisto kids, there's only one gravy, and it's Bisto.
Yes, please.
Doctor Who is back in one of the hottest computer games of the year. It's super arcade adventure all the way as you battle your way through 5 huge levels. mutilate mutants, menace monsters, and exterminate those evil Daleks before they exterminate you. Dalek Attack, the meanest game this side of Skaro.
Kraft sausage rolls are so light and flaky, you need 2 hands to eat one.
I won that game.
I remember that game. I remember that game. I think I actually owned that game. I never
was it?
I can't remember a thing about it. I definitely remember owning it.
I won that game.
Was it one of the ones on cassette that came on cassette?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So cartridge or something.
Yeah.
I think it's on cassette.
It's good. It's good graphics, though.
Yeah.
I just love the way Sylvester McCoy manages to eat a sausage roll so suggestive. How did you get away with that? I'm sorry. You wouldn't get away with that.
I can't have my Sunday lunch without thinking of John Pertwee. Then
Absolutely fabulous stuff. Yes, I hadn't seen the Sylvester McCoy one in a long time.
Nope.
He did quite a lot of adverts, so he may be popping up again if you enjoy the commercials. Yeah, people seem to last time, and
that was amazing.
Yeah, all better now. What do you think in the chat? Do not. Oh, we've got serious gamers coming out of the woodwork. Do not play 2-player mode if you want your friendship with the other player to survive. Wise words there. Wise words. Let's get another question in. Enough of this blind commercialism. Let's get back to absolute uncategorical nonsense. Here we are. Simon, do you have? Oh, blimey! Do you have any regrets over the end of the Lunatics, or was it just a case of needing to move on? Now, let's just explain for the people out there who don't know what we're talking about. You are the original Lunatic, but the Lunatics.
Well, we always joke about it. I mean, the original Lunatic, in that I set up a group in 1987 called the Lunatics, which started off in my mother and father's front room with about 4 people, and ended up with about 4,000 people worldwide. With a magazine that went literally all over the world. Those were the very, very, very best days of Who fandom. It was magnificent. I loved every minute of it. So something that I set up to see it explode into what it exploded into, and we brought a lot of people together. We forged a lot of friendships for people out there who I know are still connected. We were at the time we were the only sort of serious competition to sort of Doctor Who Appreciation Society. We came into a lot of stick for that because people saw us as being anarchic and rebels, and we didn't care. We were just having fun.
Nothing changes.
And the only reason it finished was because I basically went off to university and closed it down. And I have huge regrets about it because it was just the very, very best of days. Met some fantastic people. Hear so many times, so many stories from people who have said really nice things about the Lunatics. Was literally their lifeline. That they loved getting the magazine every month. We used to hold monthly meetings every month with sort of about 100 people at a time. We were the only one doing this really in the country at that time to that extent. Ruffled a lot of feathers, made a lot of enemies. There's still a lot of them out there. I know who you are. And they were the best of days. So yeah, I have huge regrets, and the reason it folded was because I moved on. I went to university, and the truth of it is, this is going to sound awful, but I didn't actually trust anybody to take it over and run it in the way that I wanted it running, which was quite anarchic and quite off the wall.
That's understandable.
And I just felt we'd go, and also we went out on a high. As I say, we ended with about 4,000 members, which might not sound a lot by today's standards, but it was a heck of a lot in those days.
It was.
No social media.
No social media.
Yeah, exactly.
No social media at all. Gosh, no, this is 1987 through to the mid-80s.
Amazing.
There was nothing. Amazing. Everything.
Pat yourself on the back, pal. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Absolutely had the best of days of that. Loved every bit of it. And yeah,
Lovely.
And obviously, people out there, the people who remember your name, remember the word lunatic, and maybe even have copies of Second Dimension and various other things that you did, or snaps from events that they might have gone to. People treasure those memories, and that must be a lovely feeling too, Simon.
Yeah,
I have immense gratitude to yourself and Paul and everybody else. Chris, who passed away not that long ago. Everybody who was there running it behind the scenes and putting together those monthly events and that magazine to such a high standard. No, I'm very grateful. I've always been very grateful. I've said this to you.
Yeah, you were one of them, Dan. You were a lunatic. You were there pretty much right from the beginning. And there's been, funnily enough, there was a lot on Facebook yesterday because John Freeman, who used to be the editor of Doctor Who magazine at the time that we were running the Lunatics, posted some stuff on social media yesterday about the mega quiz from 1989 that we did, and we literally brought Elizabeth Sladen out of convention retirement, and it was the first event she'd done for years. And that's it. She was back on the convention circuit. We had JNT there at a time when nobody else would have touched JNT because they all thought he was an idiot. Just the best.
He threw himself into it, didn't he? It's fantastic stuff. Maybe we'll do a whole show or a whole podcast at least about that one of the times and bring some of the people back together and talk about just how it was possible, how that could possibly have happened from, like you say, from your mum's kitchen table, basically.
Yeah, crazy days.
Let's pick another question out
of
the
question. Whoever sent it in, I love you. Thank you.
Bless him.
It was JT.
Any chance of a discussion about Sidney Newman one week?
Why?
Ooh,
Why?
Look, I mean, this is how I feel about it. Sidney Newman, like a lot of figures in Doctor Who history, is rightly revered and held in a very particular place. We've all heard of him. We've all seen various versions of the story and heard the legends, some of which are true, some of which probably aren't. And plenty of us have probably heard him speak on audio, video clips or whatever. Could we do a whole discussion about Sidney Newman? I don't know. Probably not. I think probably about the whole era, maybe. But let us know if there are people you would like us specifically to talk about. Then we'll look at ways that we can, either here or on the Type 40 podcast. But yeah, this is why I wanted to talk about this one, really, to say, look, feedback, all feedback is appreciated. Mm-hmm. We feel like with the podcast in particular, we've barely scratched the surface. So yeah, I'd love to talk about these people, their careers generally in a focused way. But yeah, I mean, Sidney Newman's a colourful character. He passed away about 25 years ago. So a big career before and after Doctor Who. But how much of it is viable for us to talk about? I'm not entirely sure, but
we could. I think we could probably spend an entire episode 1 week talking about sort of just the origins of Doctor Who.
The first sort of series.
Yeah, and we do have something planned in that respect. Yeah. All those people who was Canadian. Let's have another question. Has anything happened to you, Barnaby, where you've had a lucky find?
In terms of merchandise and things like that?
I think it is, yeah. Or finding out maybe that you live 2 doors away from, or maybe you find out you live 2 doors away from Louise Jameson or something like that. But I think they mean merchandise.
This question came from Darren Bradley. Hello, Darren, if you're out there. Yeah, it was Barnaby. Yeah, it was about merchandise. He had a lucky find apparently of an old annual. I think it was in a bargain shop at some point.
I think at one point I was really lucky. I think I found in the Who shop actually in East Ham it's on eBay now for like hundreds and hundreds of pounds now. It was the Remembrance of the Daleks and Dalek set with the character options one, with the heavy weapons Dalek and the Dalek Supreme and things like that. And I think it was the last one in there, and I just snapped it up and stupidly, and I kept it for about 5 years, then sold it off later on for way more than I paid for it. But I wish I just kept it.
You should have kept it, yeah.
I should have. It's just it's such a. I love the character options figures, and I think the Dalek figures were really good.
Anything maybe they'll your lucky find. The only lucky thing that's ever happened to me in Doctor Who was talking to Peter Davison in the pub. That's not merchandise, is it?
That's experience. I think it counts. Do you want to tell us about it? You just bump into you're working with it.
Yeah, I was used to do post production a long time ago. I used to be a graphics artist, and I had a break and I went into the pub, and he was working. He was in the other suite. He was doing, what's that show called? I keep forgetting it. Dangerous.
It was called The Last Detective.
Oh, yeah, his character was named Dangerous something, wasn't it? Or
Dangerous
his nickname. Yeah, and he was in the pub, and I didn't want to disturb him, but I
you did
in the same place. I did. And we talked because I used to watch that show, so we talked about that show because I was a fan of the comedian that's in it. I can't remember his name. Sean
Hughes.
Sean Hughes, because Sean Hughes died a couple of years ago, didn't he? So he died. He's dead. Yeah, he died.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So I was talking to him, and then we also talked about Doctor Who, and yeah, I mean, I learned a lot of stuff about Doctor Who, which I should mention. But he was a really nice guy. Brought him 2 pints. I said, I guess you don't want to talk about Doctor Who. And he said, well, buy me a pint and I'll talk about Doctor Who. So I brought him 2 pints, and he's just telling me lots of stuff. But yeah, really nice guy. Really nice guy. Yeah.
Oh, bless him.
So there you go. Yeah.
He's a very funny man. He's a very funny man. Really is.
Yeah, but he was a lot younger then. He had a bit of weight on him, but he still looked okay as far as I can tell. He was a nice guy, really, really nice guy.
Yeah.
How about you, Sarah? Have you ever had a lucky Doctor Who related find? A bit and piece?
Not in terms of merchandise. I mean, I did get to talk to Russell.
Yeah, lucky.
Well, it was the event was about Russell's career, but then afterwards he decided just to set up in this cafeteria and start talking to fans.
Oh, it's nice of him.
And he spent quite a lot of time after the event.
Oh,
so nice.
It's really nice of him.
I got to give him a hug.
Oh. He's a tall man, isn't he?
He's a very tall man, especially when I'm like that big.
I'm loving some of these comments, by the way. Some of these comments.
We're getting some wonderful comments up on screen.
This guy got drunk.
I'm bowled over by the fact that Mr. Indiscreet managed to win the 25th anniversary birthday cake at our Hoonatics meeting back in when it would have been 1998. Isn't that fantastic? Who are you, Mr. Indiscreet? I want to know who you are.
And have you kept it? Can you send us a picture of that cake?
John Leeson guested at the Hoonatics, absolutely, as did David Banks. Yep. We had those guests there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I had no idea. I must have been missing that one. So yeah, and well, at least did the cake go down well? He didn't get any upset stomach or anything like that. He's got no complaints, obviously.
It was all iced, and it was all proper Doctor Who cake. Looked good.
Yeah, lovely.
Sounds I'm getting hungry already. JT. Have you ever had a lucky Doctor Who related find merch-wise?
Well, there was that fella at Panopticon from Milton Keynes. That was a bit of a lucky find. It turned into a bit of a stalker episode, but there you go.
These things happen.
Lucky find, merchandise find from Lucky Find. Years after the actual event, I managed to find a inbox perfect K9 from Dennis Fisher.
Wow.
So I actually have 2 of them. Wow. I have my original one, which is broken because the ears always come off K9. So I've got that, and now I do have an inbox perfect condition one of that.
So you have a spare one, JT. Do you have any friends you'd like to maybe pass the spare one to, perhaps?
Yeah, me.
No, not at all. And it's over there in the box. So that was a good find, and I found that in one of the places you wouldn't expect it to do. When we used to have those old fairs, collectible fairs before they became huge, big Comic-Con type of fairs, and the prices would go up. But I did pay for that. So yeah, there's and then the other thing, as you guys have all said, is that in this age of social media dominance, I'm glad I found the Type 40 Facebook page, and I'm glad that I'm in touch with a lot of people on there. I'm glad I found this show because I can vent myself in a catastrophic way at times. But it's great because since 2017, of course, all I've had is barrages of phobe and ist and man baby and crap, and to revitalize my interest in fandom through things like the Type 40 Facebook page and this show and meeting everybody on this show has been invaluable for me because it reinvested my interest in connecting with other fans.
It's nice.
Bless your heart.
Yeah.
Really nice.
It's true though. Really true.
Oh, it's such a warm and fuzzy show today.
Because everything keeps creeping up behind you, dear.
You know what I want to know?
Who'd have thought it?
When you were younger and you went into the shop and you're a little kid, I'd always wore glasses and I was like that. Can I have the Doctor Who latest album, please? Whatever. I can't imagine Barnaby going in and go, "Who? Hello. Can I have the? I'll have that one. Please.
Could I get the annual, please, and this character option?
It doesn't work the same, does it, Ian? It doesn't work the same.
It doesn't work.
It's
Mummy,
actually
Mummy,
really
could
good.
I have this, Mum too?
I mean, but I do feel for because everything is so different now, isn't it? But every Thursday, I would go into my local corner shop for my Doctor Who weekly and my look-in. And the guy behind the counter, here he is. Every week he'd say, "Here he is. Here you go, son." And I'd be like, "Thank you very much."
They used to know my name in Forbidden Planet. They used to go, "Ian, it's down there, mate. It's down there." They used to know my name.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
They used to go, "Thank you," to walk off like that. And Barnaby would come in, "Hello."
I can just imagine a baby Mega.
I look back with enormous fondness on the 80s. I don't talk about it much. Yes, I look back with a lot of fondness about the 1980s and things that would that word lucky really does depend on what you consider to be particularly lucky. But I remember back in the mid to late 80s, this is like a bit of a deep dive to say the least. Golden Wonder were doing a Doctor Who promotion. On multi packs of crisps, and in the multi packs, you got 6 bags of crisps, just as you do now. But inside, you would get a Doctor Who mini adventure comic, little sealed comic book. I'd say it was smaller than A5, just smaller than A5. There were 6 of them. There were 6 of them. There were 6 of these things to collect, and I gradually, over time, because we used to eat a lot of crisps in our house, they got Colin Baker's picture was plastered around the bag, all that sort of thing. And over time, over these campaigns, they run for 4 or 5 months, don't they? So I managed to get together 5 of these little adventure mini comics.
Wow.
And but of course, the more crisps you eat, the more bags you open. When there's one that you can't find, you're pretty convinced that you're never going to own that item, aren't you? You're very convinced that you're never going to own
those.
I mean those. And
there they are, viewers. Look at that.
That's the ones. So you become convinced you're never going to own these things. But they were disappearing from supermarkets. My mother, I persuaded her to buy a couple of bags more. We bought one. I opened it, and in the very last bag, certainly in the town, you've probably gathered by now that there was that missing 6th comic that I needed to complete the set.
Oh, brilliant!
The saddest thing of all, Barnaby, the comics that are inside. The little comics that are inside the booklets, I already owned them. They were all reprint. They were all reprints of Doctor Who magazine.
There they are.
I just wanted to be able to say that I'd got them all.
Yeah.
Let's get them up on screen, JT. A bit bigger.
Sorry.
Hold on.
Can I do it separately because I can't hold them properly? You're absolutely right, because there's the first one, which is Revelation.
Wow.
And look at that. They are baby comics with Doctor Who magazine element reprinted.
To be fair to me, they were in full colour for the very first time, weren't they?
Number 3. And on the back of them, you have a database as well. So you've got them there. Oh, that one is Once Upon a Time Lord, which is famous in Doctor Who magazine because it went into the form of Rupert.
Yeah,
remember that. And then we've got number 5 was The Shapeshifter, which is Frobisher. And then number 6 was Voyager Dreams, which has been re-released several times as graphic novels. But if you look at the artwork still,
John Ridgway's beautiful artwork. And this is the first time it had really been seen. All those strips
and it works in little baby edition as well.
And you know what? It just proves that packets of crisps have gotten smaller over the years.
And less in them as well.
You've got one of those in every multi-bag, so there's a bit more room in there. But yeah, the general principle, yeah. It was the one with Colin looking down in that shot from Time Lash that you said was the Rupert the Bear one. That was the one I'll never forget. Never forget finding that last one. It stayed with me. I've got items that I suppose you could say I treasure more, but that was a really lucky find. I think I'd probably still be looking for that now. I'd be having to try and bribe old JT here, wouldn't I?
Cheese and onion used to be green, didn't it? Green packs.
I have still got them, and Brilliant. They are also in a poly bag, exactly the same as JT's got them. Exactly like that. I've got them set out.
Did you get the calendar?
Just beautiful. Don't bloody rub it in. Don't spoil it after 35 years. No, I didn't get the bleeding calendar. I didn't even know there was a calendar. I think I've forgotten there was a calendar. I didn't get the calendar. Quit while you're ahead, JT. I quit while I was ahead. I didn't think I'd get the comic. The Thin King has chipped in here. Lucky find for him was meeting Tom Baker in a pub in Kent and asking him to sign my own artwork of The Revenge of the Cybermen. What were the chances that he even had the artwork on him? It sounds like it. Yeah, he doesn't say. But
in those days, you can go to any pub and find Tom Baker.
He was in all of
them. He was always in pubs.
It's what they call a safe bet, I think they're thinking.
Well, he's gone on a busman's holiday there to Kent. He just popped off to Kent.
well done anyway, thinking. Nice work, sir. Have we got time? So which one was that? That one. So yes, have we got time for one more?
Yeah,
what do you think?
Pop one more.
Let's pop one out. Is there a single? Oh, this was the first question that we had. How apt?
Yes.
Is there a single episode of Doctor Who hardcore fans agree is the very best?
Doctor
Who,
It's going to be Genesis.
Definitely.
You're quite right, Sarah. Doctor Who fans never agree. Simon shaking his head.
No.
Barnaby's laughing.
Because Barnaby agrees with me. It's this one. That's the one.
Yeah.
So there you go.
It's
I mean, the thing is,
isn't it?
A single episode as well. A single episode is difficult.
Well, I guess if we go for a single story, though, I'll let you know.
I know the person who sent this one in. I know they do mean story.
They mean story,
narrative. Yeah.
Well, we're all agreed on this show that Robots of Death is an absolute must for any Doctor Who fan to watch.
Love it.
So that's one where we're united, I think.
Brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
I think the reason why the answer, though, probably objectively is no, is because Doctor Who has ran for so long. Yeah. And it's changed and helped change. It's changed with, and helped change all of popular culture, all in and around it. Just like the Bond movies have reflected the history of cinema, Doctor Who has sort of reflected the history of TV. Lots of different flavours of it. And so it really does depend on what you're there for, too. If you're there just for story, you're going to land on something, or primarily for story, you're going to land on something that's as robust and evergreen as the Robots of Death. But if you're more about moments and something a bit more emotional or sensational, you're probably going to go for the Doomsdays or something like that. So I think, my answer is no. There isn't a single episode / story of Doctor Who that the hardcore fans would agree as the very best. The most you're ever going to be able to whittle it down to, I believe, is probably a handful. And even then, you'll probably get a lot. Even then, it'd be hard to avoid fisticuffs, wouldn't it, Barnaby?
Yes, yeah. You don't like Caves of Androzani? Have at you.
I have actually found the first person I've ever found that doesn't like the Caves of Androzani. How can you not?
How can you not like that?
A Doctor Who fan, a serious Doctor Who fan that doesn't like the Caves of Androzani.
Interesting.
I've met them all, mate. I've met them all.
That is very, very. I mean, is there anybody who fundamentally disagrees with me? Will I just say it?
No, because there's been so many times where we've all sat down in the past and and had a drink and stuff, and you're never gonna say, oh yeah, everybody's going to agree. And Doctor Who magazine, when it was a proper representation of Doctor Who fandom, used to hold season surveys, or certainly when the show was off the air, the best stories, and you would always get things like Genesis coming out, Caves of Androzani. That was the nearest we've ever got, but you had to buy the magazine and vote into it. But that's the beauty of fandom, when we used to agree to disagree. And that
to me is the absolute best thing about Doctor Who fandom. And about Doctor Who is that we can all have our own favourite. There's just so much stuff out there, so much diversity.
Absolutely,
everybody's got their own favourite.
Yeah.
You know,
So many names being floated around in the chat like this. So many different names from all the eras too, from all sorts of people all over the world. Yeah. How do you how somebody's
How do you
mentioned
eat yours?
somebody's mentioned, how do you here we are. Look, wonder what flavour of ice cream Doctor Who would be.
Well, there was a Doctor Who ice cream back in the 60s, of course, with the walls. And then the 70s with the Dalek Rage. Remember that one? Because that was chocolate and mint, I think, wasn't it, Si?
They were mint and chocolate. They were fab, actually. They were really good.
They remind me of the summer of 76, those light lollies. Wow.
How do we define, as M says in the chat, how do we define what is a hardcore fan? How did we decide?
JT.
Who would
if you want to define a Doctor Who fan, it will be JT. Look behind him, JT.
Well,
yeah.
The fact that though I've put in over 40 years into Doctor Who means nothing today. It means that
it does, mate.
I've been kicked out. I've been kicked out because I don't like a female Doctor. I've been kicked out.
No, you haven't.
We've kicked you absolutely back in here, JT.
Exactly.
I think.
Oh, bless you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
We've thrown you back in through the skylight like an SIS fan.
I think what makes the hardcore fan is very simple. And this has always been a division there. The hardcore fans are us. We know facts, stupid facts and trivia about the show that go back to 1963. We have been to conventions. We have had arguments and made up. We have had a drink. We've met people from the show from whichever generation that is. And this is where some of us around the table today are very, very lucky as well to go back to that question. I mean, some of us met Liz, some of us met Nick, some of us met Verity, some of us met Caroline, Mary. Oh, beautiful, beautiful, happy days. And that brought us together. So that hardcore fan is somebody that can come out with beautiful facts about the show, but can also be honest enough to criticize the show without, I was going to say without fear these days, but we're coming through that. A softcore fan, I would say, is somebody that just dips in and enjoys it. And there's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong if you don't collect with it, anything to do with it, or if you just the odd book or something like that. And I would say that's the difference. There's those of us who have spent years or are spending years and will buy things and know all the facts, and then those that just dip in and enjoy it for what it is.
There's obsessive people, and then there's normal people. Quite frankly.
And
I know which camp I'm in.
Yes.
We've spoken a few times, haven't we, about the critical mechanism and how some people out there, whatever they're into, will quite happily accept absolutely anything as long as it's under the brand, it's under the umbrella title. But I think with Doctor Who fans, I think all the different fan sections, Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, I'm going to say, maybe if you want to look at the MCU and Harry Potter as well, but certainly the big three, how we feel that the material is idiosyncratic. It's got its own. This is why when people confuse Star Trek and Star Wars, I find it hard to deal with. But I think the properties themselves are so different, and I think the fan bases, although you got people who are in all of them, I think the fan bases and the appreciation of all of those things works slightly differently, and it's on a different. I don't want to say that Doctor Who fans are more. I think Doctor Who fans are more creative, but I think Star Trek fans could be more literate.
Well, Star Wars fans are very creative as well, because some of them actually started up their own CGI and writing and stuff. I think the whole thing about science fiction and fantasy fans, wherever you're getting it from, whether it goes back to the Arthur C. Clarke novels and what have you, H.G. Wells, Jules Verne, they've always inspired us in some element because it's an element of fantasy. It was that element of science fiction. It's been able to say to us, things are possible. Now, whether or not that's still around in today's science fiction and fantasy, I would like to have that conversation, because I don't think it is. No, and that's where it's all going to go and is going down the toilet, because it's all based in modern day stuff.
But Doctor Who's different, isn't it? Doctor Who's different compared to Star Trek
I'd say the
Star
current
Wars.
stuff is
well, Star Wars. I mean, try to explain Doctor Who to an American who's never seen Doctor Who. I mean, it's really hard. They never get it when you try to explain it. But it's a very different thing.
Doctor Who is for us Brits, because it's part of our culture. I don't think there's any other fandom. Maybe Star Trek in America.
Well, no, not really. You know, Doctor Who's very
Scotland,
unique to England. It's very unique to
Yeah.
England.
To Britain, please.
Britain, sorry.
Mega.
Sorry, pal. Sorry, mate. Britain. There you go. Sorry.
Don't put Jake in the pub, Ian. Next week.
I think that.
Ow!
I think that is
There's
an
never been a
excellent-
Scottish doctor. Don't be.
No.
I think you should look again. Look again there, Barnaby. Adjust your behaviour there, please, Barnaby.
I think that
No.
we have got other questions too, but I think that that's an excellent point to leave it on. We'll have to come back and maybe you can ask us anything else at a later date on another stream. And you can get even more outrageous questions for pretty scandalous and ridiculous answers. That seems to be the general exchange that we've set up with this particular show.
It worked, everyone. It works.
It did. Who'd have thought it? We think it worked. Did you think it worked? If you think it worked, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that little bell there to get the notices for further. If you want to see or hear some more, if you want to put your question to us, it's pretty painless, wasn't it? I'll open the selection box. I'm getting hungry. The suggestion box. I'll open the suggestion box again some point in a couple of months, maybe, and we can take some more questions in from you guys. Let's see what else. Let's see what's going on in the chat. It's a good day, everyone. Take care. Never been a Doctor Who fan from Northern Ireland. Never been a Doctor Who from Northern Ireland, though. I did hear
James Nesbitt,
mentioned a few times.
He was mentioned for the run up to what became the Paul McGann TV movie in '96,
Yes,
but
was, yes.
I think he went on to bigger and better things. James Nesbitt. So good.
I saw a quote from him when David Tennant left, and they asked him about it, and they did this thing where they doorstep him. Some journalist sort of goes up and says, Doctor Who's free. Are you going to do it? Here's a microphone in your face. And his answer was, I'll have to leave the swearing out.
Yeah.
Spend blanking 10 months of the year in Cardiff. You must be blanking joking. That was what he said. Sorry, people in Wales watching. That was James Nesbitt, not me.
Brilliant.
But yeah. That was obviously that was deep into the new series, but yeah, I mean, it's going to be right for some actors and not for others. At that point, I think went the Hobbit movies. I think
that's been proved, hasn't it?
He was just sorting all those out. Yeah. Let's look at a pretty picture to top us off. Shall
we just saw a pretty picture just now.
I don't know what you mean. Let's look at the Dalek. There's the Prydonian. That's one of the latest works in the bosom of the nasty Daleks.
Bosom.
The movie Daleks there, and they've got the Emperor Dalek on the spot. Don't know what's going on. There's a story to be told.
There's a washing machine in there as well, isn't there? So obviously they're getting together in the wash to talk about what's going on down the street. Can you see the washing machine there? Bottom left. Look at that.
I thought they were trying to get him to maybe walk the plank. Maybe they'd rebelled against the Emperor there. But
No, he's on a hoverbout, isn't he? That's what he's on. He's on a hoverbout. He's about to elevate.
Well, I wondered if. Oh, yes, you're right. Yes, he is raised.
You see, on a real set, that would be on wheels with some stagehand pushing it back. Be wearing green so that it was so nice. I love the color of the updates, as it were, the gold and the white ones there from the Remembrance style. Aren't they beautiful?
I love that purple one. I would love that as a figure.
It's unusual, that one. It's got sort of discs around it.
That's from a Big Finish one. I think that's supposed to be the Dalek Interrogator or something. It's in a Paul McGann.
Every time I see the Emperor, I always reminds of ice cream for some reason. I don't know why.
You're on your own.
You've got it in there.
You're right, but it's the time manipulator Dalek. I think that's what it is.
Yes,
okay.
time manipulator.
Is he strawberry, chocolate? I don't know what flavour he is.
Well, if it's the Quality Street Dalek, the purple ones are usually hazelnuts, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
There we are. So that's
Fruit and nut.
The Quality Street Dalek.
Oh, fruit and nut. Oh, I fancy some of that now. Yeah, can somebody send me some up, please? Fruit and nut, please. Send it to JT, care of the Doctor Who Loft here in Scotland.
Yeah, well, everybody's. Oh, we've got quite a few. Great, lots of compliments. Great stream, guys. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Thin Ping.
Lovely. That's it. Just looks like it's on wheels.
Yeah, it does, Vanessa.
Nice. Thank you. No, thank you for joining us.
Space Bookers.
Thank you, guys.
It's been a fantastic stream. But yes, while I've still got you here, And whilst you're basking in the glow of this wonderful live stream, I want to tell you about the latest edition of the Type 40 podcast. This is episode 76 of Type 40, a Doctor Who podcast. And yeah, we called it Jail Time because that's the kind of puns that I enjoy, whether you like them or not. But it's our review.
Felt like jail time watching it.
It's our full review of Revolution of the Daleks, which was this year's New Year's Day special, of course.
Right.
And it was myself and my friend Barnaby Jago there underneath, our new friend Hannah Cooper from the Visual Mutterings, her blog. She's a writer. She writes about cult TV, so we got her on for some fresh opinions. And Kyle Wagner, the host of Culture Clash and True Believers over at the Fandom Podcast Network. So it was the four of us chewing the fat and making some sense, sort of. Barnaby, I'm still not quite sure how we did, but
trying to get some sort of thing. But it was such a fun time. I loved it. It was a great little rant we all had. It was brilliant.
She's got on weight or something.
Yeah, it's not the most flattering of outfits.
No, it's not.
Off the peel potatoes. Or
what is that? What is she wearing there? What is it?
It's supposed to be like her prison overalls or something.
Oh,
it's like a dress.
That's it, yeah. So that full review, I think it's a good hour and a half's worth of us tearing the thing to shreds. But we do manage to get a couple of laughs in, don't we, Barnaby?
Yeah, we did. It was great.
Oh, so it wasn't so the review itself was it a thumbs down?
You could say that.
You've got to stream or download the show.
I've got my hair to wash down. Sorry, darling.
It's across the podcast. It's right now. So it's on Spotify. It's on Apple Music. It's on Podbean. It's on Listen In. It's on all that. There you go and find us. There will be links, but it'll also be up on the YouTube channel probably on Thursday. So you'll be able to stream it here too and hear our opinions. Hear the verdict right here on the Spacebook channel. So please like this video, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss that. And the further podcast, the next one's a belter, Simon. We got a special guest in, and it's time to coincide with the big comeback of the Doctor Who Blu-ray box set.
Oh yes,
that's a cracker. You're not going to want to miss that.
Nope, that's a good episode.
That does wrap us up.
I shall listen to that one.
Yes, it's even if I say to myself, it's a good time is had by all. It's still being edited, but
apart from watching the show, of course,
confidently say it's a good one. So thanks for joining us this time. Thank you all for your company. Some fantastic answers. Just some probing questions. It's been a giggle.
Well, there's nothing like a good probe.
Yeah. On that bombshell.
JT.
Enjoy your tea if you can still keep it down. Bye-bye.